Yes.
Clerk, you may begin.
Call to order. 7 o'clock.
Is your microphone on?
Test.
Yeah, there you go.
All right. This meeting is called to order. It's now 7 o'clock. We will have our roll call. Councilman Anderson,
Present.
Councilwoman Perone,
Present.
Councilwoman Worthy,
Present.
Deputy Mayor Whitfield,
Present.
and Mayor McIntosh.
Present.
Is Pastor Cassius Rudolph in the building? He can come straight on up to the mic. We will now have our prayer by Pastor Cassius Rudolph, pastor of Saint Memorial Community Church. Welcome, sir.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Brother Eve,
Good evening.
go ahead with the prayer. Most Holy One, known by many names, and be all names that we know you are. You are our creator and our God. And so, God, we thank you for this moment. We ask right now, God, the blessings upon the people who have been called to this community, the community that we love so much, the Willowboro community. God, at this time, we ask that you help our leaders know that they are special to us. God, that we elected them to this position, God, and that we need their help to make our community better. Remind them, oh God, because sometimes we forget time to time, especially with all the noise that's around us in our community. We forget that you are the one that got us here. God, we ask you right now that you grant our community leaders, our elected officials, grant them the wisdom and the courage to know and do what's right for the good of our community. May they speak up and speak out, speak on behalf of the marginalized community. Lord, we thank you. We thank you for them, God. We thank you for our community. And right now, God, we ask that you be in this place. In Jesus' name we pray.
Amen. Thank you, sir. We will now stand for our flag salute, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. In compliance with the Open Public Meeting Act, this is to announce that adequate notice of this meeting was provided in the following manner. On January 10th, 2022, advance 2023, advance written notice of this meeting was posted on the bulletin board in the municipal complex and was mailed to the Burlington County Times, the Intelligencer, and the Courier Times. on January 10th, 2023. Advance written notice of this meeting was filed with the township clerk. The clerk is directed to enter into the minutes of this meeting, this public announcement. Mayor?
Okay, thank you very much. Well, good evening, everyone. It's good to see everyone back. Good evening, council, our solicitor, Madam Clerk, and our township manager, and all those on Zoom checking us out. It's good to see everyone again. Before we get into the manager's municipal update, we will go into executive session just to discuss one item on our agenda, and it should be no more than 10 minutes.
Okay, so Madam Mayor, this is to announce that pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Act, the council is going to go into executive session to discuss matters involving attorney-client privilege. We need a motion for that.
Resolution 2023-75, motion to go into executive session, please.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Councilwoman Perone and seconded by Dr. Worthy. Roll call, please.
Yes.
Councilwoman Perone.
Yes.
Councilwoman Worthy.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Whitaker.
Yes. Yes. All right, we will be out very shortly. Oh,
I need a motion to come out of executive session, please.
So moved.
second, moved by Councilman Anderson, seconded by Mayor McIntosh. Roll call, please.
Councilman Anderson,
Yes.
Councilwoman Perone,
Yes.
Councilwoman Worthy,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Whitfield.
Yes.
And Mayor McIntosh.
Yes.
Back to you, Mayor.
All right, thank you. Thank you for your patience. We will now get into the municipal update by our township manager.
Good evening.
What kind of exciting thing is trying to move down, drive in person? If it's not what you used to, be patient, we'll get there. Good morning, Mayor and Council.
Good
evening.
evening.
Or good evening. We'll get there. So just to begin our municipal update for March 21st, I wanted to start off with some of the things that have been happening in our finance department. The revenues generated as of February totaled $14,411,257 and some change, $14,095,000 of which was tax revenue. And the monthly allotment to the Willing Board of Education was paid. They received almost a little over $2.8 million, and the $1.8 million was distributed to the county. As you know, and many residents may not know, Willingboro, it's a state thing in New Jersey that the municipality collect all of the taxes for the taxing agents and disperse them. So we collect school taxes and county taxes as well as our own municipal tax. So our expenditures or appropriations for the month total $2,677,000. 1.3 was to salary and wages. A little over $340,000 went to our health insurance premium. Different statutory expenses like FICA insurance and Social Security, a little over $110,000. Other expenses to the various departments were a little over $652,000, and we paid a little over $216,000 on principal and interest in some of our notes paid. Our community health and wellness continually provide programs and classes and lectures reinforcing healthy living as a way of life here in Willingboro. They continue to work to provide structure for businesses and medical companies to bring their expertise and inform the Willingboro community. This department continues to be a strong advocate to reduce prescription drugs costs. And they also provide wellness telephone calls to homebound seniors, veterans, residents, promote, secure, coordinate, and schedule food pantries, as well as needed receipts and delivery of food boxes. And they prepare lunches to anyone expressing the need. We have a very vibrant, strong, numerical senior community, and our community health and wellness under the direction of Ms. Reva Faulkner really does a lot to take care of our seniors and veterans. Our public safety under the direction of Captain Bucks. We currently have 59 sworn officers in our police department. There is currently one officer in the Camden Police Academy that's set to graduate on June 28th of this year. There are 3 candidates that accepted conditional offers of employment. This department is interviewing 3 more candidates. In total, the department is looking to send 5 recruits to the Camden County Police Academy in April. One candidate did not take our conditional offer of employment. They decided to try their luck at another department. The patrols in Willingboro continue to conduct motor vehicle enforcement throughout the municipality, specifically targeting areas like Pennypacker Drive, Beverly Rancocas Road, Evergreen Drive, Charleston Road, and Veterans Parkway. And they are continuing to monitor the library during the various shifts that occur there. Our police have been very active and more active in engaging our township ordinances. This was one of the
commitments that was laid out to them, and they have been very receptive to it during 2023. During the month of February, our officers addressed over 100 ordinance violations pertaining to unregistered vehicles and parking violations throughout our community. You know, there has been some issues with oversized trucks parking in it is the
East.
East Ridge Plaza and on various streets and roads throughout the community. Over the weekend, Captain Buxton's department ticketed 1, 2, 3, 4 different vehicles. They put tow stickers on them, and summonses were issued to the registered owner. And they have a commitment to continue to enforce this overnight weekend parking until it stops. So I thank Captain Bucks and his willingness to do what it is that they do, and the acceptance of his team, his department, for not hesitating and going out and enforcing the ordinances which they are sworn to do as officers in Willingboro.
Okay, thank you. Just a note, police calls for service and violent crime reports on the federal crime reports. And I was having a conversation with our Captain Bucks yesterday. They have been consistently decreasing in Willingboro since July of 22. It was very encouraging to see that since then, the number of calls for service has trended down by 58%, with February 2023 having the lowest number of calls for service during the past 2 years. So when you talk about the work that's being done in Willingboro as far as policing, it's taking effect, and there could be mitigating factors to that, but I believe it is directly related to the level of enforcement that is happening here in Willingboro. Our Citizens Police Academy this year will be held on Saturdays in April at the police department from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. We encourage all of the residents who are interested to go to our website and register as we look to increase community policing as well. For our fire and EMS department last week, we attended the swearing in for 3 new firefighters and our 8 EMS workers and the supervisor. Although fire calls were up slightly in February, with the department answering 127 calls for service. One of them being at 206 Clubhouse Drive. There were 3 adults that were displaced by a house fire. The fire was placed under control in 15 minutes and no injuries were reported. However, on Veterans Parkway and Marybrook Circle, fire and EMS responded to a 2-car motor vehicle accident with entrapment, and the vehicle was on fire. And unfortunately, the fire did take the life of the entrapped driver. So while fire calls were slightly up, EMS calls were slightly down for the month. Our EMS has been performing admirably, reducing our dependence on our neighboring communities to cover calls for service in Willingboro. And if you recall, one of the commitments when you graciously allowed them to move forward in staffing a full-time EMS department was it was for the expressed interest of servicing the residents of Willingboro. During the first 2 months, this department has also generated $123,000 in reimbursements from insurance companies. And if they continue on that monthly average, they will potentially generate over $688,000 in revenue for the year, which could cover the cost of salaries and benefits, and depending on cost of supplies, could render our EMS services completely self-funding. Our Public Works Department has been continually busy working on our streets and roads. This month, they have picked up 1.58 tons of recycling material. They disposed of 7.44 tons of tree and brush debris. They inspected over 355 catch basins and cleared 168 basin grates. Our street sweeper collected 97.5 cubic yards of material during sweeper operations for the month. We received in the month of February 15 pothole complaints, but our DPW addressed and filled 196 of those potholes, including Gaffney Lane, which was a major issue that was brought to our attention just last week, and that matter has been completely rectified. They have collected 190 30-gallon trash bags of materials collected off of our main roads. They have collected 16 30-gallon trash bags of materials collected from our parks. They have removed 21 non-township signs from our roadways and have collected over 19 deceased animal carcasses, not domestics. So overall, our DPW is very integral in our Clean Communities initiative, which I have been kind of discussing with the council over the last few weeks. And I prepared a slight presentation for you this evening on that. So I want to share my screen. Okay, so that says budget, and that wasn't what I was looking for. We'll get there. There we go. Okay, stop share. Share this one. There we go. Thank you, Ms. Jackson. So this is not this is the view that I want. Okay. So here we are. So this is our Keep Willingboro Clean campaign that we have been working on with our Clean Communities Coordinator, our Department of Inspections, our police, DPW, and Communications Department. This has been something that has been very near and dear to my heart, especially over these last months, because I really see how Willingboro is not being maintained at a level that it could be, not because our employees are not doing the job that they're doing, but there is just a disconnect in or disrespect of our properties. So we have developed a Clean Communities program. We developed some marketing materials that kind of go along with that program. And this is kind of the roadmap that I'm just going to walk through as this presentation. The first thing that we have done is we have developed a Keep Willingboro Clean Communities Guide. This particular guide here is a Clean Communities Litter Prevention Guide booklet that we have put together specifically for businesses and have mailed them to the businesses. You know, as I tour the communities, as I do most mornings, that was one of the things that I go by and look at, and I just see the level of uncare that our businesses have been maintaining their properties. Since our inspections department, under the direction of Mr. Tunstall, have been sending out these letters, the businesses have been very responsive in keeping their properties clean. And for that, we are grateful. So we are going to continue to press them and require them to keep their properties clean, as I think we, as Willingboro residents and other business owners and employees, would want them to be kept. Another area that we are going to be marketing in is a banner. So our communications department has come up with this logo: stop, think, and go. Don't litter, care about our community, keep Willingboro clean. And we are going to place 4 6 by 12 feet banners in various areas in the community, one on MLK Drive, or Veterans Parkway, one at the Kennedy Center, one at the Mill Creek Fence on Beverly Rancocas Road, and we're going to put one on the water tower as a big sign about our desire to keep Willingboro clean. So another thing in line with the banner is we have developed a Willingboro, Keep Willingboro Clean community yard sign, where we're going to place these strategically throughout the community, 18 by 24 inches. Again, so as people are passing through, they know that we are concerned about the cleanliness in our community. Stop, think, and keep Willingboro clean. In line with that, we are creating through our website a Clean Communities registration form for the residents to take a pledge and submit their commitment to help keeping Willingboro clean, help keeping their streets clean, help keeping their properties clean. And every individual that goes onto our website and takes the pledge to keep Willingboro clean will receive a specialized banner, very similar to the other yard signs, but it says on the bottom, I took the pledge, identifying them as a resident who has expressed their commitment to help keeping Willingboro clean. So in line with that, we are creating a very small 5x7 sticker that we are going to put on the rear of our vehicles, our township vehicles. Again, as a continual reminder that we are serious about keeping Willingboro clean. Along with that, we were very fortunate last year to utilize some of our Clean Communities dollars to go and purchase what we have now dubbed the Stop, Clean, and the Stop, Clean, and Go Kart. So this is a vehicle that has been branded specifically for Clean Communities. And what my intention here is to hire, for now, at least 2 part-time Clean Community ambassadors who on the off weeks or days when Clean Communities, our DPW can't get out and clean the roads, that they will travel up Veterans Parkway and Charleston Road, and they will visit our parks and our side streets just to maintain and help keep our communities clean. These 2 positions for now will be funded completely through our Clean Communities grants. So there's no additional monies to the taxpayers. And this was, again, another opportunity I thought to provide a little employment for some of our residents, young people retired who might be interested in some part-time work. So and along with that, we are about to have our spring Clean Communities cleanup. So we have designed a t-shirt to kind of go in line with that those who are participating in the Clean Communities cleanup will have the same logo, Keep Willingboro Clean. And they're really nice, Mr. Bevogel, and your DPW guys would look good in them, the lime green and as part of a uniform. Absolutely. And of course, with our newly rolled out Willingboro Connect app, all of the residents have the opportunity now to sign up for the Willingboro Connect app and be able to report any issues within the community, not only potholes, but if there are trash issues and things like that. So we would encourage residents to once again go and sign up for the Willingboro Connect. That will also be a mechanism for them to receive information from the township as well. So these are all of the things that we are kind of putting in line to move this Clean Communities initiative forward. So I just ask the residents to make sure that you go ahead and make the pledge as we work together to keep Willingboro a clean community. So that is kind of the crux of our Clean Communities initiative. Some of the projects that we have been working on that are coming up or starting, the Buckingham Culvert repair. Buckingham Drive was reopened recently with 90% completion of the repairs at the Buckingham Culvert near 16 Buckingham Drive. The final paving will be included in the NJDOT Buckingham Drive full repair grant that we received that we're in the process of working through. The Pennypacker Phase 2 repaving project is expected to start paving within the next 2 weeks, which will include extra work for some minor bridge repairs and the inclusion of 3 speed humps that were petitioned by residents along Pennypacker, and this council was considerate enough to include in their 2022 capital budget. So there is a resolution on for your consideration approving the change order so we can move forward with the construction of those speed bumps and the Van Scriver Parkway Bridge. They're going to be doing some work there, doing some abutment concrete work and cleaning the efflorescence, which is a crystalline deposit that can form when water is present on brick, concrete, stone, stucco or other building surfaces. So they're going to remove this efflorescence coating on the downstream parapet wall and paint the pipe bracket. PSC&G is moving forward with some gas main replacements in Willingboro. I know I have spoken to you about our intention to do some street paving in the township. We had reached out to PSC&G and persuaded them to get on board. Now, because once these pavings happen, it would be a little restrictive for them to come back and then reopen our streets to do what they wanted to do. PSC&G heard us and have been very responsive and working with us to make this a collaborative, mutual effort, getting their work done and the work that we need to be done as well. They're going to start, or they're going to be looking to award the gas work to a contractor and looking to start this work either in late April or early May to complete their gas line replacements ahead of our DOT-funded reconstruction paving. The roads that they're going to be working on are Bradford Lane between Babbitt and Sunset, Blueberry Lane, again, between Babbitt and Bradford, and Buckingham Drive from Van Sciver Parkway to Charles Road. PSC&G has confirmed that this work replacement is to be done in ahead of our reconstruction, and they have confirmed that when they are close to to start, that they will let us know, and our public information officer will work with their public communications officer to notify the residents and keep everyone properly informed. So I believe those are all of the, no, one more. One more. Right. So just in our personnel Department of Human Resources, they maintain the personnel records and manage internal, external issues that fall under the scope of the department, while still continuing to operate within the guidelines of civil service rules and regulations. During the month of February, we hired 2 new part-time security guards in the police department. We had 1 retiree in the fire department. We had 1 workers' comp claim in the police department. And unfortunately, we had 2 new COVID-19 positive cases. So this is my manager's update for the month of February.
All right, thank you, Mr. Harris. Does any council have any questions concerning the manager's update? Yes.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Harris. I did have a few questions and comments in terms of the clean communities. I do know that the school district recently shared that they're interested in partnering with some of the clean communities initiatives and was hopeful that you'd be able to coordinate with Dr. Malcolm Outlaw to get them connected. Also, I thank you for the work on the mobile app to get that launched, and wanted to know if you'd be able to share that with the school district. Perhaps they can get that sent out to the different families so they also can download the app and, you know, stay aware of what's happening in the township. And I didn't know if it was, if you had any updates you could share at this point with the Performing Arts Center. I know that project is underway, at least a lot of the planning of it. Anything you can share at this point?
Yeah, so the project is very much underway, full steam ahead. We are at the point where now we are trying to obtain the bidding documents from the engineer as we prepare to finalize and prepare to go out to bid for this project. You know, presuming that it will be funded through the remaining capital ordinances. We'll kind of talk about that a little bit later, but we did receive a very substantial grant from the Department of Community Affairs. That grant application has been submitted and sent to them. So barring any complications, which I don't think there will be, they should disperse, I believe, the first 500,000 for that project with what we have in our capital budget from prior years. That's almost $1 million that we have available to begin this project. The other half of that, of 500,000, would be the other half of that grant. And then with the potential of the council infusing another 600,000 into this capital budget year, which would put the balance just a little over 2 million for to begin construction of that project. One of the things that I am meeting with the engineer tomorrow, so we'll be able to nail down timeframes as far as the constructions go, but we are planning a more formal presentation to the council and open it for the community. I believe we're shooting for April the 18th. I believe that's the second council meeting for the month of April. And we were going to ask that the council meeting be held at the JFK Center. The engineer is going to put a virtual display of what the Performing Arts Center would look like. We're going to have, you know, pictures of you know, the different seating materials and the curtains and the electronics and, you know, the plan, so people can come and see exactly what this project encompasses. So we are planning to move forward with that.
Thank you, Mr. Harris.
Councilwoman Perone.
Just a comment. Thank you for the presentation, and I do appreciate the initiative for the clean communities. I'm looking forward to seeing how it plays out. So thank you for putting that together. Good job.
You're welcome.
Any other council member? All right. Concerning our Willingboro app, how is that trending? We've been, it's launched two weeks at this point. How are we doing? Are people signing up? Are we getting complaints or any share? Can you share a little bit more about the good?
So I will, and that has really been under the direction of Mr. Lowry.
Mm-hmm.
So if he doesn't mind, I will ask him to step and speak on he has worked very hard on this project and has really produced a very nice product for Willingboro, and he's been kind of keeping those metrics.
Okay.
So I'll ask Mr. Lowry to come and speak to that subject.
Madam Mayor, Deputy Mayor, Council. So I actually looked at the numbers today. We have about 200, I looked at the Apple Analytics. We have about 208 downloads. We have 170 residents actually registered for the app. So there's a lot of residents that are just downloading the app, but not actually registering. You can still get, you're not going to get necessarily updates, but you can still use that even if you're not registered. So we're going to encourage everybody in our communications to just register once you download it. Tomorrow will be the 2-week anniversary of the app. So tomorrow we're going to send out a notification through the app and on our Gov delivery platforms and through Facebook and social media to encourage people to continue to download the app, share with their residents, share with their friends, their colleagues, their neighbors, just so that we're making sure that we're pushing that information.
I appreciate that.
No problem.
I'm excited about that. Thank you.
Mr. Larry, could you speak to the mailing that's going out to the residents?
There is a mailing that's going out, went to the printer today, yesterday, went to the post office yesterday, so the residents should be getting that.
Okay. She got her.
Okay, so it's
Good.
out there and folks are getting it now. So yeah, we're doing that. There's other things that, we're working on. We put out a press release last week or so, or the week before, that went out. NJ Insider New Jersey picked it up. They were the only ones that picked it up, but we're gonna work with our press contacts and make sure that gets out there. Yeah,
Thank you.
no problem.
And I just had one more question. I know we had there was a big fire at the Fountain of Life in Florence yesterday. And I would venture to say that our public safety team did aid in that.
Yes,
Can
our
you-
public safety team did aid in that event. It was a very large fire and it was a very devastating fire.
Mhm.
Captain Bucks and I, we had a conversation before the meeting. That was a shelter facility for Burlington County.
Oh.
And we are going to be having a conversation with Burlington County ourselves, state OEM, state police, and possibly relocating that shelter here into Willingboro on a temporary basis. So we don't know exactly how those dynamics will work out. But we're going to explore that possibility.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for that update. We can move on to our ordinance and resolutions. After that. Mhm.
So our ordinances for this evening, ordinance 2023-4 is the public hearing and final reading for the ordinance establishing the Divine Nine Park donation bench program for the township of Willingboro. There was an interest in establishing 9 specific benches in Mill Creek Park. We identified a very nice location towards the south side of the park for those 9 benches to be located, and they will be placed in there through the efforts and finances of the Burlington County Panhellenic Association. Did I say that right? Council. Ordinance 2023-5 is the public hearing and final reading for an ordinance amending Part 1, Chapter 3, Article 2, to add a new section to the ordinance to establish time limits for council meetings and time limits on public comments. There was an expression to kind of limit the meetings to 3 hours. And so that's going to be the second reading and possible adoption for that. And the first reading for
Just one point of correction. The other thing the council talked about was time limits for council members, so that the version of this ordinance has been amended to include that.
okay. And then there will be a first reading on ordinance 2023-6, which is an ordinance to exceed the municipal budget appropriation limits and establish a cap bank. This is something that is ministerial more than applied practically. It's a tool that our financiers look for to be in place when they do our bonding. And what it essentially does is there is a 2.5% cap limit on budget appropriations from year to year. The cap bank, it establishes the ability for the township, if they can express the need to exceed that appropriations limit by 2.5% to 3.5%. And then it allows them to put the amounts of monies between the 2.5 and 3.5 that weren't spent throughout that budget year to put it into a bank and hold it for a period of 2 years. My understanding is that there has not been any cap bank, any excessive use above and above the 2.5%. But again, when we go out to our bonds to do our bonding, the financiers do look for that ordinance to be in place. So I am going to ask that you move forward with that, and it has to be introduced before we introduce the budget. So that's why it's on the agenda first. As far as resolutions go, resolution number 2022-63 is a resolution approving a change order number 1, which is the contract for Pennypacker Drive Road Improvements Phase 2. That's the change order that I was speaking of, to include the speed humps and just a little additional paving work on Pennypacker, as we have just additional funds that we can extend the paving just a little bit. So we're going to ask you to approve that change order. Resolution number 64 is authorizing the refund for overpayments of taxes, which is, pretty standard procedure. It happens if there's a senior exemption or a veterans exemption. Sometimes there's a property closing where the mortgage company may have paid the taxes and the title company will have paid the taxes as part of the closing. So someone's entitled to a refund. So that's what that resolution is for. Resolution number 65 is authorizing the Township of Willingboro to enter into a contract with Levette Ballard and Levette Ballard Arts LLC. Ms. Ballard is a very notable artist in Willingboro Township, and she does provide certain services to the residents here. So we sought to enter into a formal contract with Ms. Ballard, where she has agreed to provide very specific services to the Recreation Department in exchange that we would provide her certain credits to her rents at the space at Kennedy Center. Resolution number 66 is a resolution authorizing the Township of Willingboro to enter into an installation and repayment agreement with PSC&G. We have been discussing for quite a bit of time now the ESIP program that we are just on the cusp of moving forward with. However, PSC&G is also on the cusp of increasing their pricing. They were kind of, we've been hanging on to Willingboro since 2019. And they weren't willing to wait any longer. So what our installer, Donnelly Electric, has asked is that we enter into this installation and repayment agreement with PSC&G, essentially saying that we're going to be moving forward with this program. We agree to accept the terms of the repayment, which would be over a 5-year period through our utility bills, and the figures were all included in the programs. And then that would lock in our pricing. So if PSC&G increases, the numbers that were presented to you in the ESIP program would be held constant. And we did receive a letter from Donnelly that if the township for some reason does not move forward with the ESIP, we would not be bound to PSC&G in any way for the work in this agreement, because essentially there would be no work. That was presented to Mr. Crook. He did review it and gave it his acceptance as well. So
The resolution, just clarification, the resolution does include a provision. It says it's like the township manager just said, if for any reason we don't go ahead with ESIP, we're not going to be bound to help these contracts. So they're conditioned. So we cover ourselves.
yes, and just for your information, we did award a contract to DBL Associates in the amount of $6,900 to do the third-party audit of the numbers that were presented to us. So they should have those numbers back to us within the next couple of weeks. Resolution number 67 is a resolution authorizing the Township of Willingboro to enter into a contract for the repair of the snack shack at Pennypacker Ball Field and pay related invoices to All Risk Incorporated. Back in September of this year, there was vandalism at the Pennypacker Ball Field. There was fire set, and we did go through our insurance company, who did provide us with an adjuster. They came out and assessed the damage and did go ahead and authorize us to move forward with the claim, initially in the amount of $32,000 and some change. Subsequent to that, they did come in and find other things that needed to be repaired as well. So when it's all said and done, the final claim for that property is like $113,000, which the township has already received monies from the insurance company to pay. The problem is that the adjuster was supposed to check a box for the direct pay for the adjuster to pay the contractor, and they did not. So that's why the monies came to the township. Because the monies are here in Willingboro, we have to now abide by the local public contracts law. We just can't disperse the funds even though. So we had to go and do some kind of formal process to contract with this vendor so they can do the work and we can pay them. Fortunately, they were a member of the ESCNJ, which is the Educational School Co-op of New Jersey. So we were able to award them a contract through the contract. So that's what we need to do so we can go ahead and pay them for the work that they've already done, award them a contract and issue them a purchase order to do the additional work and to pay them from the monies that we had already received from the insurance company. So that's what this resolution is about. Resolution number 68 is increasing the not to exceed amount for Alimo Group for planning services related to the master plan land use element. Alimo Group was your appointed planner in 2022 to provide master plan documents to the township. They have done what they have done. Initially, their contract was for $10,000. Through the course of the year, they exceeded that. We received final bills from them in the amount of $8,000, bringing their total billing just to about $19,000. So we need to increase the not to exceed so we can go ahead and pay them the additional monies that we owe them for the work that they did in 2022. And my understanding is that they were not the appointed planners for 2023. So that one bill that we did get in 2023, we are not paying for. Resolution number 69 was discussed a few minutes ago, authorizing a settlement in the civil matter of Bernadette Davis Green versus the Township of Willingboro. This is a very tricky case. However, settlement has been agreed to between the plaintiff. This settlement is being funded through our insurance company. So it is not a matter that is going to actually be paid from the coffers of Willingboro Township. Resolution number 70 is authorizing the settlement of African American Data and Research Institute versus Willingboro Township et al. This is another very complicated case. If anybody knows about Oprah, there have been certain legislations in the past few years that have made it very simple for Oprah complainants to kind of tap into the pockets of municipalities, where they now have the option to either sue in Superior Court or through the GRC. And it used to be prior that there were no financial compensations for this, but the legislature changed the rules. And now all of these Oprah cases are going to Superior Court, the GRC, and not only are they winning, or even if they lose, but they're receiving attorney's fees. This particular individual has literally sent the same Oprah request to every single municipality in the state of New Jersey. And the information that they are looking for is thousands and thousands of records related to employees, police officers, use of force claims, and things like that. So literally, our human resource director spent months compiling all of these documents. We had to send them to our legal counsel, who spent months redacting information. And, you know, at the end of the day, we send them what they're looking for, but they want attorney's fees. And, you know, our attorney was good enough to, once again, you know, negotiate them down, but the judge was very sympathetic and we're paying attorney's fees. So this is kind of authorizing that settlement between this plaintiff and Willingboro Township. Resolution number 73 is entering into contracts for the purchase of a hot patcher for the Department of Public Works. If you recall, we did reappropriate some of those monies in previous ordinance for specifically for this purpose. And this is the resolution to go ahead and purchase that hot patcher. Resolution number 71 is going to be a resolution to introduce the budget, which we are going to go through in another presentation. But at some point, not now, whenever the mayor, instructs to move forward. Part of that is resolution number 2023-72, which is the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission's resolution. This just says that Willingboro uses all of the correct EEO employment laws related to hiring and personnel policies in the township of Willingboro. And then finally, resolution number 2023-74 is the approval of vouchers for payment and ratification. And those are all the items being presented to the council for consideration, with the exception of, I do believe there is an additional resolution that we're going to bring forward, considering an amendment to the
resolution establishing a community volunteer service partnership program between the members organization of the National Panhellenic Council Incorporated of Burlington County, New Jersey, and the Township of Willingboro.
And that is correct.
Okay.
So the National Panhellenic Council of Burlington County has agreed to partnership with Willingboro Township, where they are committing to I believe it's 3 community service activities per organization and the group. Did I get that correct? Yeah. Okay, and in turn for their services, we will be a little considerate in some of the requests that they ask maybe to use some of our parks and facilities, maybe waiving costs and things like that, to be measured on a case-by-case basis. There are no commitments, there are no guarantees, but this is just saying, you know what, we're willing to partner with you. If you're willing to invest in Willingboro, we're willing to make some concessions for you to use our facilities for your own private organization. So that's what that is going to be as well. And I believe that's going to be it for.
Madam Clerk, what number we're going to give that? 77. Thank you, Mr. Harris. I'm not going to open the floor for public comment for agenda items that we just went over. It's agenda items only. You will have 2 minutes. Please state your name and address for the record. And also, we will be taking public comment for agenda items for anyone on Zoom.
Gary Johnson, 54 Gramercy Lane. With regard to the resolution setting time limits on the meetings, as one who has to get up rather early in the morning for work, I can appreciate the intent. I do have apprehensions about whether this is the best way to go about it. I'm wondering if perhaps more rigid procedural matters, no disrespect to Mr. Harris, but going over each of these meetings, these resolutions take some time. They could be printed in the resolution, and anybody that really had an interest could read it. I assume we can all read. And that might cut some time. But I just wonder if, we're talking about cutting public comment time and member time, but if you cut member time, to me, you're threatening the idea of really solid debate on any of the issues. I realize it leads to beating a dead horse once in a while, but nonetheless, the intent is to have a vibrant debate on all the issues. And I don't want to see that curtailed, even if it means I have to lose a little sleep. So I have a hunch, or at least my feeling is that there's a better approach to this problem than setting time limits. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Any other public comment for agenda? This is for agenda items only. Host, does anyone on Zoom have their hand raised?
Not at this time.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
You said my name,
Name,
Kawesa
street.
Mathis.
okay.
That's KWASA. So I do have a quick question. I wanted to get clarification since, I'm sorry. Oh, 26 Medford Lane. Thank you. I just wanted to get some clarification because I don't know if this is technically considered on the agenda, because for, I guess, was that 77 for the NPHC? Is that something that I can ask about? Okay,
Mhm.
great. So my question is, how do you all, I guess, determine what the event should be? Like what counts as an event? Or are you saying that members of the Divine Nine have to have specific events within Willingboro to count as I guess, proof that we can utilize certain facilities? Does that make sense, the question that I'm asking?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, we'll answer all questions after public comment is closed. Mathis. Any other public comment for agenda items? All right.
Good evening to all. I'm not so sure about the agenda item. Is it?
It would be anything that was just discussed.
Oh,
Isn't it?
okay.
Yeah, and then we'll have another public comment right after new business. Might turn it up over that side a little bit. Oh, okay.
Carl Turner, 86 Earnshaw Lane, Willingboro. I bring greetings from the National Panhellenic Council of Burlington County and its affiliate D9 organizations. And we appreciate you for recognizing the services that we provide to the community over the year and welcome partnerships and you're allowing us to have a certain plot to recognize the D9. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Turner. All right. Just want to make sure there's no one online that has their hand raised for public comment.
Yes, Mayor, we have Michelle Bogan.
Okay.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Okay. I heard a drastic decrease in the amount of the police calls, and I'm very happy to hear that. I was just curious. I hear that there's more reinforcement, but I'm also curious as to, was there a specific residence, or not that we need the address, but were there specific residents where we got less calls from? And I kind of asked that because I know we have a lot of community homes in the area. So I was just wondering if there was any indication around a theme or a pattern outside of increased police officer enforcement.
Ms. Bogan, I just need your address.
Sorry, 7 Essex Lane.
Thank you. Okay. We'll answer all questions after public comment closes. Any other public comment on Zoom? Host?
Yeah, not at this moment, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. All right, public comment for agenda items is now closed. Mr. Harris can start with, or the less calls in the public safety.
So the less calls regarding public safety are just calls in general throughout the township, spread over many different categories. As a matter of fact, I did ask Captain Bucks to maybe make a very short presentation to the body at one of our future meetings about how they are able to actually do this. The police department uses a lot of data to determine the times of day, certain things are happening, where they are happening, and then they are able to kind of concentrate their focus in these particular areas. For example, if they know on Tuesdays at 10 o'clock, there's excessive speeding on Pennypacker Drive, then they know on Tuesdays at 10 o'clock, they need to increase their enforcement on Pennypacker Drive. And these are the areas that they're using data to kind of drive their policing efforts. And it's just very remarkable, the amount of information that they have, the statistics. And I don't know if the body had ever been, that information has ever been really shared with you, but I did ask him to present that to you and the public so they can really see, how we are going about fighting crime in Willingboro. And it's really impressive to see the graph just go down and down and, little ups and, how graphs do, but the trend is just consistently down since 2022. And I just think that's very impressive.
Resolution 77.
Sure. So Ms. Mathis, the way this is determined is we have a schedule of events that the township hosts. That schedule has been provided to the president of the Pan-Hel, of which he will disseminate among the organizations and the group itself. So out of those events that are township events, we would ask that organizations, the Pan-Hel, they would participate as far as manpower. And in return, we would consider, any request as far as facilities or possibly the park as it relates to fees.
Thank you, Councilman Anderson. All right, and Mr. Johnson, I do understand your apprehension for ordinance, ordinance 2023-5. But the intent is to just streamline the meetings, and we did get a lot of, in concerning Mr. Harris, we did get a lot of great feedback that going through the resolutions was helpful to the residents, even, and to your point, they could read it, but during conversation on the record, I found many residents have called and said they really appreciate that. I don't know if any council has any. Councilwoman
I
Perone.
was going to say the same thing, that it's, I don't find that, I appreciate that he actually goes through each item because he's not actually reading it. He's giving a summary of what is written, and it helps with understanding, and it also limits the questions as far as from the community when we do open up to any public comment on agenda items only. So I think it's definitely a good thing that Mr. Harris does that, and I do appreciate him doing that. Mhm.
And also just to add, there's no reduction in the public comment time.
Right.
The times will remain 2 minutes for public comment on agenda items and 4 minutes at the final public comment at the meeting. So those times will not change. Just in response to your concern about spirited debate during different topics, we still will allow the Roberts Rules of Order direction that allows for each council member to speak 2 times on a topic, but we are limiting that time to 5 minutes per time they speak.
Okay. Any other comments for public comment? All right. Thank you, Madam Clerk.
This is public hearing for ordinance 2023-4. Ordinance established the Divine Nine Park Bench Donation Program for the Township of Willingboro. Public hearing is now open. Host, do you see anyone?
No hands raised at this moment.
This is about any comments? No, this is just about the ordinance. 2023-4. Hard to hear. I'm having a hard time. Okay. All right, we'll speak louder. Thank you. No problem.
This was public hearing for ordinance 2023-4. Ordinance establishing the Divine Nine Park Bench Donation Program for the Township of Willenboro. Seeing none, public hearing is now closed. This is the final reading for ordinance 2023-4. Ordinance establishing the Divine Nine Park Bench Donation Program for the Township of Willenboro. I need a motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Councilwoman Worthy, seconded by Councilman Anderson. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilman Anderson,
Yes.
Councilwoman Perone,
Yes.
Councilwoman Worthy,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Whitfield,
Yes.
and Mayor McIntosh.
Yes.
This ordinance has passed. Ordinance 2023-5. This is public hearing for ordinance amending Part 1, Chapter 3, Article 2 to add a new section 3-13 to the ordinance of the Township of Willenboro to establish time limit for council meetings and time limits on council members' comments and public comment. This is public hearing. Public hearing is now open. Host, do you see anyone?
Not at this time.
Gary Johnson, 54 Gramercy Lane. I repeat what I said in the section on before. Thank you.
Noted. Thank you, Mr. Johnson.
Public hearing is now closed. This is the final reading for ordinance 2023-5, ordinance amending Part 1, Chapter 3, Article 2 to add a new section 313 to the ordinance of the Township of Willenboro to establish time limits for council meetings and time limits on council members' comments and public comments. I need a motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Councilwoman Perone, seconded by Councilman Anderson. Any discussion? All right, roll
I just
call.
want to add one
I'm
thing.
sorry.
I just wanted to add one thing. I do hear your comment, Mr. Johnson. And one thing that is included in the ordinance is the council's ability to extend the time limit should we need to. So it's just a rough time for general meetings, but we do have the ability to expand the time limit should we need to.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilman Anderson,
Yes.
Councilwoman Perone,
Yes.
Councilwoman Worthy,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Whitfield,
Yes.
and Mayor McIntosh.
Yes.
This is the first reading for ordinance 2023-6. First reading, ordinance to exceed the municipal budget appropriation limit and to establish a cap bank. I need a motion, please.
So
So-
moved.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Anderson, seconded by Dr. Worthy. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilman Anderson,
Yes.
Councilwoman Perone.
Yes.
Councilwoman Worthy.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Whitfield.
Yes.
And Mayor McIntosh.
Yes. Before we move on to resolutions, are there any resolutions between 2023-63 through 77 that we want to pull out for the further discussion?
Do we need to pull 71 for the introduction of the budget?
Okay, thank you. And we'll do that for new business, the intro. Okay. All right, any other ones for further discussion?
Mayor,
Yes.
also, boards and commission is under, new business, but there is a resolution set aside, which is 76 for that. So we want to pull that out as well.
Okay, so is there, okay. All right, 76, so pull 76 out. All right, so is there a 75 also?
We use that for executive session.
Executive session, okay. So I retract that. Anything from 63 through 70, 72 through 74, and 77, correct?
Mhm.
Okay. All right, now, I make a motion to consent items, resolution 2023-63 through 70, resolution 2023-72 through 74, and resolution 77.
Second.
Moved by Mayor McIntosh, seconded by Councilwoman Worthy. Roll call, please.
Councilman Anderson,
Yes.
Councilwoman Perone,
Yes.
Councilwoman Worthy,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Whitfield.
Yes.
And Mayor McIntosh.
Yes.
I need a motion to approve the consent agenda, please.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Dr. Worthy, seconded by Councilman Anderson. Roll call, please.
Councilman Anderson,
Yes.
Councilwoman Perone.
Yes.
Councilwoman Worthy,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Whitfield.
Yes.
And Mayor McIntosh.
Yes. You may proceed, Madam Clerk.
Resolution
You need approval of the.
2023-71, budget introduction.
And we're gonna hold that until, the presentation for new business.
And we're gonna hold 72 also. Oh, I'm sorry.
72 is.
What we have?
And boards and commissions was
76.
75 or 76. Okay. Yeah.
We're gonna wait on that till we get to,
Mhm.
so then that takes us to resolution 2023-77.
And we did that.
We did that.
In the consent agenda.
That was the last one.
All right.
Or approval of, approval of treasury, treasurer.
No treasure
report.
minutes. I need a motion to approve minutes for March 7, 2023, please.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Whitfield, seconded by Councilwoman Perone.
Mhm.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilman Anderson,
Yes.
Councilwoman Perone,
Yes.
Councilwoman Worthy.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Whitfield.
Yes.
And Mayor McIntosh.
Yes.
Mayor, just for, update, I have a few things here. First of all, the approval, as Mr. Harris had talked about moving, the first council meeting in April, second council meeting in April to JFK, that I can go ahead and do that, put that advertisement in the paper to change the location.
So is everybody okay with that? For the purposes, okay.
And secondly, in your packets, you had asked to contact E-Code to talk about reviewing our ordinances and doing updates. I believe that proposal was also in your packet. Just want to know how you want me to proceed with that,
With, I'm sorry.
if anything, the E-Code.
We'll go, you can actually talk about that now. Is that, is the E-code a
It was a
contract?
proposal, yes, it was a
Oh.
proposal that they put in there. We don't have to actually right, so if it's in the packet, so if we can bring that back at
Back
the
at another
next
time.
meeting.
Okay, that's fine.
And
That's fine.
y'all take a look at that and let me know how you
All right.
want to proceed
All right, thank you.
with that. And thirdly, Mayor and Council, is your cannabis licenses. Is there any a thought process as to going back out for the other three licenses? So I get a few calls about cultivation and manufacturing, whether or not you all are going to move forward with opening that up. So just need to know how to move forward to proceed with that as well. Need an answer to give to those applicants or those who are inquiring. So if,
Okay, can we give you an answer for the next? meeting?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And that's all I have as an update to you, Mayor and Council.
Okay. Any questions or comments for our clerk? No. Okay, moving on to unfinished business. We have a couple of items for discussion. Can we start with the boards and commissions first? And Ms. Blige did include some citizen leadership forums to be considered today for economic development, the library board.
And the green team, even though that you have one that I did call the candidate on, they did not select select on your on the sheet, but they wanted the green team.
The green team, okay. And we also have for environmental commission and planning. We will start with nomination.
I'd like to make a nomination or make a motion to nominate Valerie Clay to the library board.
Second.
There was a second.
Any other nomination?
No.
Oh, I would like to nominate Merle Adams and Pierre Joseph to economic development.
Oh, I was talking about the library board.
Oh, do we need separate? Okay.
Any other nominations for the library board?
Councilman Anderson,
Yes.
Councilwoman Perone,
Yes.
Councilwoman Worthy,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Whitfield,
Yes.
and Mayor McIntosh.
I would like to nominate Merle Adams and Pierre Joseph to the Economic Development Committee.
Second.
Any other nominations?
Councilman Anderson,
Yes.
Councilwoman Perone,
Yes.
Councilwoman Worthy,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Whitfield,
Yes.
and Mayor McIntosh.
I'd like to nominate Marie Turner for environmental commission.
Second.
Any other nominations? Roll call, please.
Councilman Anderson,
Yes.
Councilwoman Perone,
Yes.
Councilwoman Worthy,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Whitfield,
Yes.
and Mayor McIntosh.
I'd also like to nominate Marie Turner for planning board.
Second.
Any other nominations? Roll call, please.
Councilman Anderson,
Yes.
Councilwoman Perone,
Yes.
Councilwoman Worthy,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Whitfield,
Yes.
and Mayor McIntosh.
I'd like to nominate Joan Trustee for the green team.
Second.
Any other nominations? Roll call, please.
Councilman Anderson,
Yes.
Councilwoman Perone,
Yes.
Councilwoman Worthy,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Whitfield,
Yes.
and Mayor McIntosh.
Yes. Any submissions before the commission?
So question, Sir Solicitor, so we made the nomination. Now I need to read the resolution, or we're good? I'll put that on the resolution. Got it. Okay.
Alright. We also have conversations for the street naming, ordinance. Getting feedback from Anderson, and I'm wondering from council, if there's anything else you wanted to adjust from the last, submission?
Let me turn this on. In terms of the issues, the original draft that I circulated talked about if an individual was a member such that served on council for 10 years or more and met the other public service, personal qualities, lifetime service, et cetera, they could be eligible.
Can you put your mic up?
It is on. Can you?
Pull it closer to you.
Okay. Is that any better? Okay. Councilman Anderson, in his suggested comments, I believe that that should be 16 years or more. So that's one of the issues that needs to be addressed, and ultimately, you know, the will of the majority of council, we'll have to hear what that is. Also, there were changes made in terms of for an individual, in terms of what would be required. Councilman Anderson had submitted his comment that it would be individuals who have made significant contributions in the arts, entertainment, or sports, who have attained national or international prominence for their achievements, and those who have a minimum of 16 years or more of outstanding civic service to the township. So there's essentially two different categories there. There's people that have significant contributions on a national, international level for arts, entertainment, or sports. And there's also those who have a minimum of 16 years or more for outstanding service to the township. And finally, it also added a category, names of individuals. This again, a recommendation by Councilman Anderson, names of individuals that have served the U.S. forces for 16 years or more and have been recognized or awarded by the military for their outstanding service. So that was the additional qualifications that the councilman wanted to include in.
Right, so with that, there was a revision I sent over. I believe I copied you on it, removing the 16 years for military.
Okay. And what were you recommending for that? Just
No, just,
anything?
yeah,
Okay.
if they have, decorated outstanding service.
So we'd remove the years and it
You're
would
right,
just
for
read
military, correct.
U.S. forces that have been recognized, awarded for their military for their outstanding service. Okay.
Were there years attributed to the outstanding contributions to the township?
Yes.
Yes.
I would like to
Yes.
take that one. I mean, I think it should be, if there is an outstanding, I don't know how many years, I don't know how you quantify that many years of service.
I think we should it should be some type of number to quantify your service. I mean, maybe not 16, but it should be some number associated with it. That's just my thoughts.
And I think I understand your concern, because I think if there's not some type of limits, then any street could be named. But I think that's where the provision comes in for the petition, having a 75% of the residents that live on that street sign off on it, and then also a percentage of the population to approve it as well.
I'd like to add, I don't know if it's the quantifying of the years, but I would be interested in perhaps the significance of the impact. Like if it's community-wide or county-wide or statewide, it may not be something you did for 20 years, but the impact could be broad enough that it would warrant some credibility or a street renaming. So I'd be in favor of removing the number of years and maybe adding language around the significance of the impact.
I agree with that, because this still comes back to, I guess, the council's decision, even if, when it's brought up, it's still at our discretion, or council's, whoever the council is at the time, the discretion, even with this ordinance. But I do think the impact is the key, more so than the years.
That's fine.
And I also was looking at the national and international impact. I don't know how important we want to weigh that into, our purposes.
Well, for the purposes of, I believe, Councilwoman Perrone had made a recommendation of an Olympian.
Mhm.
So you want to have some impact.
Right.
We got to have some criteria,
No, yeah.
because if not, we're going to get an onslaught of applicants. So it needs to be something. And regardless of what comes through, we still can make the determination.
Right.
But we need to have some criteria in place.
Any thoughts on that? You want to just keep that the national and international Peason.
I can be open. I mean, I know that ultimately it's whoever the sitting council is at the time. I think if you say national impact, what about those who are making impact, throughout the state of New Jersey? So
Mm.
I don't know. I can be open to it. I do understand it's at the discretion of the council ultimately,
Right.
but just so that residents understand what would be even considered, just to help them to understand, why to even put in.
Or we can just add statewide impact. I mean, once again, just to cover the bases, but you want, once again, it goes back to the impact.
Right.
So we can just add, statewide impact or whatever. So this way it's a inclusive category.
So we could modify the recommended paragraph B to be named individuals who have made significant contributions in art entertainment, but have obtained statewide, common, national, international prominence for their achievements. And then the
Statewide.
second part of that include statewide.
Okay.
Yeah.
You gotta speak up. You gotta talk to the mic. I can't hear
You
you.
can't hear me? Really? Okay.
Give them a flag. There you go.
Sorry about that. I don't know why. Normally I have no trouble projecting, but my voice is a little off tonight. So we're adding statewide. The second part of it is, this is separate. And those who have, and we're striking a minimum of 16 years or more, who have had a significant impact of outstanding civic service to the township. And I think that would cover the second part of it that we talked about. And we get rid of the 16 years for that part of it.
Okay. And also the percentage of people for petitions. I think that does have to be,
Previously, we had it set to a minimum of 10% of the total households in Willingboro Township. We have about 10,000 plus households. So that would be 1,000 signatures at minimum. But I think the most recent iteration of it had 25% of the population, which at a population of 32,000 is quite a bit.
I'm not trying to make it easy.
I think no more than 10% of the population, because the household, well, I think we initially said 5% of the population.
Yeah, I think we said 5% of the population originally,
So if we taking what, 30,000 when we speak population,
32,000.
32,000?
So 5% of the population would be 1,600 signatures.
That's way too low. I'm sorry.
Too low, you said, Councilman?
Too low.
It's more than
How many,
votes.
You
how
only
many
need 50 to
signatures
get
you
on the
get for your
council.
petition?
You only need to get on the ballot.
Just saying, I mean, look, that's how I feel.
I agree with Councilman Anderson. I don't think it should be a low number. And I know that in some of our election laws, you have to exceed a certain number amount of the last voting election, you know what I mean? And so it's done fairly, and I think keeping it at a higher number, and you're naming a street, so it's a permanent decision. I think surfacing the community and getting their way in for a petition, I think it's a fair process. So I'd say keep the number percentage higher as we have it. What do you have it currently as?
Councilman recommended 25%, the prior resolution, prior.
7,000 signatures?
8,000 signatures.
Maybe we did 5,000.
Like that's 8,000 signature.
We were at 10 in the original proposal.
About 3,000, maybe 3, 5.
You could just make it a number if you want to do
Well,
that.
3,000 was approximately,
That was 10%.
10% of the population. Because when you go to 8,000, that's
Can I
more
get
than-
15%?
I would support 10%.
I support 10% of the but the population or households,
Of the total population.
total population, okay.
Madam Mayor, I just have a clarifying question.
Yeah.
How are those going to be validated?
That was the next,
Oh,
right?
okay. So I'm okay with 10%. I just I don't know how
To
would that,
quantify, yeah,
how would that be?
that would be through the clerk's office, yeah.
Put your mic on. Your mic.
It would have to be validated through the system, the voting system. Each candidate, so.
But that's even another issue. I mean, it's not it's not based on who's, is it based on voter registration? Isn't it based on resident?
Well, it have to, that's what I mean, but
Right.
still, the resident, you gotta do the same thing to verify that they are a resident.
Right.
Well, how
And I would
you-
have to run
how
that
would you-
through.
How would
that
you
system.
verify
For
that?
under 18, I mean, for.
You wouldn't be able to that's what my concern is. How would you verify if someone is a resident of Willingboro?
But aren't you going to
Registered to
do
vote.
a,
You might not be registered to vote.
Right.
Maybe that should be a requirement. If you're signing a petition and, I don't know, I'm just throwing things out.
No, understood, but it's just to rename the street.
No,
You
Right.
can make it 10% of the registered voters. That's,
Yeah, voters is right there.
right,
The
and then
language.
then we run them through the system.
But you
That's
need
the
to
only
drop
way.
the Number, right?
It does,
Registered voters is what?
right? It's not,
18,000, 20,000?
I mean, I'm just saying that that's the only legal way to do it.
I look forward to hearing what the public says during public comment,
Yeah.
to hear, some other perspectives about
That's the only way to.
something
validate
like
And there's no verification of licenses. And I mean, there has to be some verification of
But
where
even with
one
their
lives.
license, you got many people who live in Willingboro with their, Pennsylvania, New
I mean,
York.
but they're technically, it's still technically.
I think registered voting is a good way to market, to be able to
that's the best way to be able to confirm it for sure.
confirm it, yes.
So if
Resident could be
registered voters,
unlicensed.
Unlicensed, okay.
would you
But it can be
consider
un,
Increasing the percentage.
Yes,
Not a resident voters.
right.
no.
That limits the 33,000. I
Right.
agree with Councilman
But we
Anderson.
Raise that 10%.
Yes.
And I think,
Based on registered voters.
and I think it also isolates or discounts or discredits the voices of our younger population that may not be registered to vote yet. So if there's a high schooler that wants to put a petition for something like that, I mean,
Yeah, they need to be at least 18 and registered to vote. I'd say like it's a response, I still think keep it at an adult age. 18 is still a high school. You can be 18 in high school, right? But registered to
Mhm.
vote.
Yep.
So encourage them to register to vote and they could possibly take part in renaming a street.
Mhm.
If that's something that they wanted to do.
okay, so I would, if it's registered voters, then you have to raise the
Yeah,
percentage,
limits-
obviously.
right. So now what's the percentage?
Oh, no, it's 4 women to 1 guy.
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna follow you.
I would like to hear what the public has to
Yeah,
say.
on
on
that
that.
You want to come back to it?
Yeah,
Okay.
so this is just unfinished. This is just discussion. So before we put it on before we make it an ordinance, so I appreciate the discussion.
Just one other couple things,
Yeah.
Madam Mayor. There was another request in terms of after the honorary street name has been assigned, that there can't be another proposal to name it something else
Right.
within the next 50 years, which. And then finally, if a council member is recently deceased, upon request, the council may grant the honor to have them lay in state here at the K Municipal Complex. So I don't know. Those are the last 2 proposals by the councilman.
The land state, I'm
Yeah.
okay with. I don't know about the previous one. What was can you repeat that? 50 years.
Once a street's designated and named, it's 50 years before it can be proposed to change it to something else.
Yeah, I don't know
That was a
about that one.
that's
Okay,
what-
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, here, okay, that's, all right. Anything else for unfinished business? Thank you, Mr.
I have.
Sure.
something.
Go ahead.
So with regards to, this is regarding the last discussion on the parade and events committee, which by the way, I did review the last council meeting and I did see that you all supported money for the event. So I appreciate it. Thank you. I apologize. Right? I do have some challenges though, with putting this event on. And the challenge has to do with the standard operating procedures that we talked about. The last event that I put on, which was the Veterans Day Parade, there was quite a bit of confusion as far as my role as councilwoman, the appointed committee representatives, and communication with the staff and volunteers that have volunteered to participate, requesting funding to pay for certain things conversationally. So we had discussed about creating a procedure, and I believe Councilman Dr. Worthy had eloquently stated that it should be its standard operating procedure, which I agree. I did email Mr. Harris about just today, following up, did we have it prepared already? And he did further explain that the procedure is not necessarily just for that event, parade and events, but it's going to be for all of the committees, which is totally fine and it makes sense. However, with this event coming up in April, I'm having challenges with getting things done, and the employees are also walking on eggshells. As we all witnessed, one employee was basically brought out to hang because she designed some material. I don't want to see that happen again. And I understand that Mr. Harris stated that he's in the process of preparing it and it's going to take some time. I'm not exactly sure how much time, but with regards to this event coming up in April, I am going to need something written, even if it's temporarily, from Mr. Harris with regards to procedurally, how can I move forward with planning this event? Without that, then this event is going to have to be at a halt until I have a clear communication on process of proceeding.
Do you want to go for? Go ahead.
So as far as aiding the councilwoman in her events, I don't think there are really any barriers to you executing whatever it is that is needed for the event. As a council person, there are barriers to you communicating directly with employees and giving them direction about different things to do. That is why we have Mr. Lowry in my office to serve as the liaison to you as the council person. As the council person, you are, and this is my understanding, the liaison between the committee and the governing body. And then as a council member, you cannot give direction to an employee to do A, B, and C. That's what Mr. Lowry is for. That is what I am for. So if there is something that you need, you should be communicating with our office, and then we would give the direction to the appropriate individuals and departments. That should be, we should be very easily able to accommodate whatever your needs are if those processes are followed. And that would kind of alleviate some of the questionable happenings if the focus is directly with my office and not trying to deal with the individual employees and departments. Because as even though you are the liaison to the committee, we cannot divorce the fact that you also are a sitting council person. And I think that's essential that this be the line of communication to get what you need done until, you know, more formal processes are put into place, which would be probably inclusive of that policy as well.
Thank you for your response. With the not only issue is communication. So you guys, you can imagine planning an event, I'm going to communicate with an officer. I'm going to have a conversation. I'm going to have, it's natural to talk with someone. Yes, requesting a flyer be designed through Gary Lowry, which he did that. And thank you for taking care of that. That's not an issue, but it is unrealistic that I would not speak to the people that work in the township at all, unless Gary's there. That's extreme. And in addition to the other problem is funds, getting the money and the process. I thought I was operating properly with the event by communicating with the clerk, sending the invoice, showing this is what it's requested, following the channels where she would communicate with the chief finance officer and then yourself, sir. However, what happened was people were not paid because you had a personal opinion about what happened while I was working and communicating with your prospective liaison, which was Gary, because that was communicated with him, not to get too much into that discussion. But what I'm going to need is exactly what you just said verbally. I need that in writing, but not only just communication, but also the process of how to collect money, how a vendor can be paid, which vendors can be used, something in email, because this is the next step, is what's going to happen. It's requesting money and it's not clear on how to do that. So even if it's an email that you write out that describes communication, realistic communication, and the process of collecting money to pay for things.
So as we're sorting the SOPs out, what do you need for this event?
Right.
What do you
Mhm.
need? And that's lagging, just
Okay.
so council can understand what we're.
Okay, that's a good question. So we're quickly approaching the event. It's April
Mhm.
22nd. Initially, I did want lawn signs. I don't think we're gonna have time for that because they've not been designed yet. So we do have a flyer circulating, but at this time, it would probably be stage setup, communications regarding how the room should appear, as well as ordering light refreshments was the intent. In addition to, I did invite I contacted Burlington Special Services School and invited their students to play during the event. And I spoke with the choir director, and the students play amazing. These students are students that have different disabilities, and I observed a performance during the Christmas season, and I had invited them to be part of our entertainment. They are interested. However, there are fees that are associated with that, such as the band director and his assistant to help with the students. And he gave me some figures, which I don't want to speak publicly right now, but it's at a minimum. It's not, it does go underneath the 1,000 that we talked about, and transportation. So there's some fees there. He is preparing an invoice with regards to that. I did speak with the superintendent over there to arrange this, but therefore there's going to be an invoice produced. And in order for that to be, and okay for them to be there. So as far as expenses, that's really the only thing that I'm seeing with regards to this event. Everything else is just people, bodies being there and participating on a panel.
And so I'm asking, like, what do you need from Mr. Harris? Like, in terms of, you said there's some fees associated with the students.
Right, so there'll be
Is
an
there,
invoice.
can they become a vendor in this? I mean, I know it's coming up.
Yeah,
So is there time to go through the process that's in place at this point?
I hope so. I'm hoping so. And that's what I mean. Like, I'm not, this is a new vendor. I don't think the students were ever invited here to do anything, at least not the special needs students. But this is an invoice that he's preparing, so I would submit it to, I guess, the clerk, unless that's not the right process. That's what I did before.
Okay.
That would be, so that's really the expense, like I said, light
And it'll be like,
refreshments.
I'm sorry, I apologize.
Oh, it's setup, yes,
Mhm.
setup thing. So the other part of the plans is to have, just like how we had at the reorg, where we have the screen, the backdrop. Some students, I'm inviting students who are autistic or on the spectrum to be pre-videoed, recorded, doing a talent or something that they have, and having in between the symposium that they present what their talent is. Some of the students suffer from communication and anxiety. So just to include them in this event, and that's not just the Burlington schools, but different students amongst our community, which I have spoken to a few parents out here that are interested in having the pre-recording. So the backdrop would need to be there. I would need to have communication with the video that's being prepared, and when it should play. I just don't see me being able to do all of that without talking to people.
Mayor?
Yeah.
Can I just clarify a point? I don't think that, maybe I'm not clear, that Councilwoman Perone cannot talk to people. I'm specifically referring to giving direction to employees. Now, if you want to go out and outside and contract with an outside vendor and the school districts, you can do that. And I believe that although it may be a little extreme, that's what the law stipulates. That's just not a me policy. That's what the law says. Now, as far as the processes for acquiring funds, the local public contracts law is very specific about what that process is. I have previously communicated those processes to the governing body. We even adopted a purchasing ordinance that outlines the process. So if you need funds, you as the council person can submit whatever it is that you need to your secretary, Ms. Blijen. She can go in and put the purchase requisition in. The funds can be encumbered. A purchase order can be created. the service can be provided, the invoice be provided back to her, and the bill paid. That's the process. We can't go and contract them, have them perform, and then 3 months later, submit an invoice for payment without going through that process.
Respectfully, however, that was not it was the invoices were submitted prior to the event, and then the bills were not paid. And I was getting phone calls from these people who conducted and where they worked and they were not paid. Everything that you described is exactly what the process was. The invoice went to the clerk, went to the finance officer, to you, and then you declined payment. So again, I'm just, not to belabor this topic, a member? Right.
I'm sorry, that's what took the longest. They have to be a vendor. So whoever the vendor is that
Right.
you have,
Mhm.
if you can give me that name and stuff and we get them to fill out the W-9 and all that, we can take care of that.
Okay, all right. And I think I was sending you the documents throughout the parade, right? For those who were not
Right.
current
The
vendors.
only problem we had, I think, was the DJ and the florist.
Okay,
And there was a slight complication for that one vendor. So I mean, it's
Mhm.
been resolved, obviously,
it has
but
been resolved.
there was a little bit nuance for
Mhm.
that one particular.
Okay, and so regarding setting up the room,
But no.
the cameras, the video, that communication, there's gonna be bodies in the room that people that work for the township. There's not, like, I'm not hiring a special person to come in and set up our cameras. It would be the people that work here. So,
Well, you would have to ask Mr.
Right, that's
yeah,
what I-
Mr.
that's what-
Harris for
But
that.
then again, that could be problematic about when are they setting up these cameras, we can talk about it.
well, that's why I need you to put it in writing, because they would need to be there the day of as well. Because if I'm having using the equipment, then somebody needs there to operate the equipment and I need to communicate with them. So like I said, it's a little bit extreme for you not to expect for me to be able to talk to individuals that are actually operating and setting up the room, or there's a failure with the camera or something's freezing, for me not to say, well, let me call Gary so he can tell you if there's something going on. So, and I think that's what I mean by, putting it in writing, and I'm willing to proceed there. But as you see this conversation, we do need to get this settled. So this way we do have it going forward, but it has to be realistic, because the committee members are hesitant with assisting right now because it was not clear. Well, they witnessed what happened before. So I can't plan an event by myself. I have been, making arrangements, but at the end of the day, we need something in writing, at least
Thank
temporarily.
you, May, you had something to say?
Yes, I was just gonna say, the direction was to work directly with Mr. Laurie, correct? For any of the remaining setup needs that you may have, and then he'll be in contact with the individual staff people to execute those, correct?
Right, and that's exactly what we did. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Dr. Worthy?
So I'm just trying to be clear. So if Councilwoman Perron wrote down, I need, a stage, I need a backdrop, I need speakers, I need lawn signs, I need this vendor paid, this food ordered, and she said, Mr. Lowry, let's sit down. She gives this to Mr. Lowry. Are you saying that Mr. Lowry can go execute that? Because I think she's just trying to get to how does she move it forward? If she can work through Mr. Lowry, are you saying that she can then just, here's all the stuff I need done, and then just give it to Mr. Lowry and he's gonna go execute it?
No, it's not.
That's where I'm trying to,
It's not that simple, because I don't know the extent of what it is that she needs done.
right, so that's
So-
where we're trying to get to. So how do we execute?
We need to discuss. So if she needs a stage set up, that's a direction for DPW to set up the stage on such a day, such a time. If she needs a videographer,
Right.
you don't have a videographer on staff, so
Understood.
then,
So Mr. Harris, not to interrupt, but I do want to pause there because
Right.
that's what I'm saying. And so if Councilwoman Perron already has, let's say she has a plan for the whole event. She knows needs a video, a stage, like she has all of that. Is she able to just have that conversation with Mr. Lowry? This is what I'm trying to get done. Mr. Lowry then goes to DPW, goes to communications, goes to all the different departments to go do. and then her volunteers who are on the board come to the event to help set up, pass out stuff. Is that what you're saying? Like Mr. Lowry would then be the event planner? Like that's where to me, that's where the disconnect is.
So I guess the disconnect is Mr. Lowry would serve as the communication piece between a township employee and whatever activity that Councilwoman Perone or any committee would need. So again, if you needed a stage set up, then Mr. Lowry, I need a stage. And then we could connect with DPW to set up a stage. But if you needed a videographer,
Not a videographer.
well, I'm just
gonna-
using it as a caterer, right? We don't employ caterers, so we're not going to go and find you a caterer. You and your committee would go out and find your caterer. Those are not township employees. You can communicate with them. So now when you talk to the caterer and say, I want to hire you for $5,000 on such and such a day, give me a proposal. You take the proposal, give that to Ms. Blajan. Ms. Blajan goes in, she puts a requisition into the system, ABC Caterer, whatever paperwork that we need to establish them as a vendor, the funds get encumbered. You get a purchase order from the purchasing department. You take that purchase order to the caterer and say, I have a PO. Do the event. When the event is done, you get an invoice from the caterer, you attach it to the signed PO, you submit that to accounts payable, and they write a check.
Yeah.
That's the process.
I was not confused at all with that process, and that's exactly what happened, how it was done for the Veterans Day Parade. That's exactly what we did.
But we're talking about the process moving forward. We're not, kind of going back to the
Right.
Veterans Day Parade.
All right, well, I guess if you could just put it in writing, and then I'll just proceed with that, with Mr. Lowry, but just an email, so I have something in writing. What you just described, that would be helpful until we actually have something written out. That's it for unfinished business.
Okay. Anyone else for unfinished business? Okay, moving on to new business. I did just want to discuss this cannabis. We have cultivation left, Miss Blajan. And one manufacturing. So in between these meetings, can we just come up with where we're looking to open, if we're looking to open that back up? And specifically, we did issue one retail, but specifically cultivation and manufacturing. For this, there's one manufacturing, two cultivations, I believe. Okay, we can follow up in between. Okay. Any other new business?
I have one thing.
Yeah, and it's for the interest of time, you can
know.
present, we just got it in the email.
All right,
So, you can just say it and then
what it is.
we'll digest it over
Okay.
the next 2 weeks.
Okay, so the PAX card, and I can put it in more description in the email. I know I just emailed it today, but it was just a way to work out a discussion that we had with regards to the council's budget and spending as opposed to when we're paying for different seminars, i.e. when we go down to Atlantic City. So a PAX card, basically, it's a card that the township would have, and they would put our names on each card. And the card has no money on it until we request from the clerk what we need. For example, just speaking in small numbers, let's say the hotel, it's $150 for incidentals. Once you check in, we know our $50 a day for food. So therefore, we have small numbers here, 150 plus $50. We'd ask the clerk, I need $200 for this trip. She would put it on that card. And when you're using it, it's going straight to the chief finance's office, and there's no cash, no, what do you call it? We don't have to do the reimbursement thing because the money was already allocated for that specific thing. If we're in Atlantic City, you pay for a seminar, you use that card, and that's it. So we can read it a little bit more. I have
Yeah.
used it for other businesses, and it seems to have worked out. I did talk to Mr. Harris today about it. He said he wants to look into it and see if there's any challenges with the state and laws.
Okay,
That's it.
I appreciate that. So we'll look through that over
Okay.
the next couple of weeks.
All right, thanks.
And I did for one last new business. Oh, well, no, we still got the budget. Okay, before the budget presentation, we were, new council came in 2020, and we didn't realize that you did not get a plaque for serving as deputy mayor.
Oh, wow.
So I did want to present you a plaque that we hereby honor you as our deputy mayor from 2019 to 2000, for January to December 2019,
Wow.
for your unwavering support to the community, and thank you for your faithful service. So we did, we didn't realize,
you.
but
Thank you.
just want to hand that to you. Congrats. I'll get it out. We can get it after. Yeah, get it. Get this neat.
Well, thank you, council and staff. Thank you.
Does that mean you're gonna be much nicer to us?
Well, maybe, maybe to the ladies.
All right, Mr. Harris. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I got one thing.
Councilman Anderson.
Real quick. I had my meeting with the shelter board this week, and the question came up, are there any things in place if a committee wants to fundraise, opposed to always asking for money, from the budget, or if they need more money? They wanted to know, are there opportunities to fundraise? So I told them I would bring it to the body. So if you guys can just look into it and just get back to us, this way I can get back to the commission.
And can you put that on for discussion for next? Thank you.
Ready? Yeah. So good evening again. We are here to present to you the 2023 proposed budget. I first want to thank our Chief Financial Officer, Ms. Eusebia Diggs, who has worked very diligently with myself and our department directors. I'll just recognize them here. We have Mr. Dennis Tunstall from Inspections. We have Ms. Tanya Jackson, our Public Information Officer, also known as Tanya Around Town. We have Mr. Laurie, who is my executive assistant. We have Ms. Eusebia Diggs, our Chief Financial Officer, Ms. Reva Foster, who is Executive Director of Senior Services and Veteran Services, and Mr. Richard Bavogel, Department of Public Works, Captain Ian Bucks, who is Public Safety, and I think that's everybody here this evening. So we are presenting our 2023 proposed budget. I will not presume that everyone in the audience is familiar with the municipal budget or the process, so I will kind of lay some foundry before. Under New Jersey statute, the budget preparation is prepared every year by the manager. The statute says that the budget shall be prepared by the municipal manager during the month of November each year. The manager shall require all department heads to submit requests for appropriations and to appear before him at a public hearing, which shall be held during that month. If you recall, back in November, this was complied with. Additionally, under New Jersey statute 4069A 97-1, under the council manager plan, that notwithstanding any provisions of public law, we have not less than 16 days prior to the extended date for the introduction and approval of a municipal budget. The Division of Local Government Service gave us guidance for 2023 that our statutory deadline for introducing our budget is March 31st. And it must be adopted by April 28th. We are also in compliance with that law. The timeline that we are looking with, again, statutorily, we're going to have our introduction and approval today. Now, the word approval is nothing more than another word for introduction. So you're not saying, okay, we approve the budget. You're just saying you're accepting the budget that is being presented to you. 2 copies will be filed with the Division of Local Government Services within 2 days after introduction. At least 28 days hereafter, there will be a public hearing, which will be projected to be on April the 18th. That would be, it's just a little over 28 days between now and then. The budget needs to be advertised publicly no later than 10 days prior, which would be April the 7th. and then possible adoption on April the 18th if there are no amendments. If there are amendments, then we could shoot for May the 2nd, unless we hold a special meeting to do it before the 31st of March. The first step in the process, like I said, were the departmental budget requests. Again, these were held in November of 2022 as required by state statute. Our budget does go through an overview process. As I stated, Willingboro does not have a budget officer. However, the CFO and the auditor, who is a registered municipal accountant, have looked at our budgets, our finances. They have prepared our annual debt statements, our annual financial statements, and our budget documents, and make sure that they are compliant with state and local finance, local budget law requirements. One of the things that they look at during the budget year, and I don't know if you can actually see with that green bar header, is our fund balance. This is our fund balance between the years 2018 and 2022. As you can see, our fund balance has increased. Let me see if I can just change the view here. Okay. Our fund balance increased to the tune of $3,374,892 at the end of 22. Now, the term fund balance is an accounting term to describe the difference between a fund's assets and their liabilities. We are a cash basis municipality. So for cash basis entities, the fund balance represents the net cash after all revenues have been deposited and all expenses have been paid. That's the money left over at the end of the year. Increases in fund balances happen as a result of strong fiscal management and strong fiscal management of the cash flow. As a result of this, we are able to utilize $3.5 million from our fund balance to offset our 2023 municipal budget. Along with the fund balance, we look at the tax collection rate. In 2022, our tax collection rate was 96.63%, meaning we collected 96.63% of the taxes due to Willingboro. There was a slight decrease in the collection rate between 2021 and 2022. And to be conservative, our CFO and our budgeting, we're going to project that in 2023, there will be another slight decrease in the collection rate, and we'll project our revenues accordingly. So the average, the proposed budget overview, the average assessed valuation of properties in Willingboro is $158,350. That means the average home in Willingboro is that price. The total assessed valuation of the entire town rose by $20,480,060 from $1,192,378,099 to $1,912,858,000. Am I getting it? Or $700. Phew, that was a lot. With a proposed collection rate of 96.23%, which is to be utilized. So for our 2023 proposed budget, based on the total assessed valuation, the 1.9 billion of the town, every penny of the tax rate generates $191,285.87. So when we talk about a penny in taxes, that's what that penny represents, $191,285.87. The appropriations for operations in the 2023 budget increased this year by $1,664,163.12 from last year. That was because of things like healthcare costs, pension costs, waste management costs, our collection, our recycling, our tipping fees, and general increases in costs to do business. Fuel cost goes up. Services that we contract with, their cost goes up. So our appropriations for our 2023 budget went up $1,664,163.12. That represents an increase of 8 cents on the tax figure. However, for 2023, we are presenting a 0 increase to the tax rate. And I will tell you and be very honest that that was not a very easy task to do, especially since you had a 0 increase, a very slight decrease, and now to come in at another 0 increase to the tax rate. In 2022, the local municipal tax rate was $1.816. In 2023, it is going to be the same, 1.816 being proposed with no increase to the tax rate. So we are talking based on the valuation, the current valuation of our community, we are going to be raising $48,221,000 in projected revenue without any of the increase being passed on to the tax-paying resident. The cost of this 2023 budget to the average taxpayer in Willingboro is $2,875.64 will be for the year of 2023. How does that happen? This is possible due to the following. $610,170.91 was a decrease in debt service appropriations. That means that the amount of money that we have to pay in 2023 towards our debt is decreasing by $610,000 plus. We are utilizing an additional $595,000 in more in our fund balance, which is utilized as revenue in the budget. That extra money that's going to the bank, we're going to actually take $595,000 of that and apply it towards the tax base. And $400,000 increase in the amount to be raised by taxation because of an increase in our town's tax rateables, not from increasing the tax rate. And additionally, there is $800,000 of American Rescue funds that are going to be utilized for additional taxpayer relief to offset allowable expenditures. Of the total proposed 2023 budget being introduced, 39.3% of those revenues are appropriated towards salaries and wages. 11.4% of those are appropriated toward other operational expenses. Those would be things like paper and supplies and different things that we need to operate with. And 49.5, almost half of the budget is being appropriated to other expenses that are really beyond the control of anything that we do here. Our trash collection and disposal, our insurance costs, our pension costs, and other statutory expenses like our FICA insurances and things like that. This year, we experienced a health insurance cost or 11% of this budget is going to be appropriated towards health insurance costs, an additional 9.2% towards pensions. So, you know, the numbers are just staggering, but I think it's really key to point out that almost half of this are expenses that are just beyond our control. So how does that shake out for a resident? You know, we look at our 2022 adopted budget, and if you can see along the total bottom, you know, in 2022, $18,594,457 went towards salaries and wages. This year, $18,935,000 $731.02 is going towards salary and wages. That increase is directly associated with our contract negotiations and the increases that are being paid to our unions and through their negotiated contracts. That's an increase of $341,273, which is, again, as I said, 39.27% of the budget. But that number in the bottom right-hand corner, $1,129.22 of the taxpayers' bill for the year is going towards salary and wages. So each house is contributing $1,129.22 towards the complete salary and wages for the township in 2023. In relation to our operating expenses, here are the same figures. Our total other for 2022 was 24 million, 052, whatever that number is. We have the 2023 increase, although there was a slight decrease in our operating expenses. Again, they are attributed to 49.35% of our budget, reflecting a $1,419 equation for each property in Willingboro. So $1,419 of their tax dollars are going towards operating expenses for Willingboro. So totally, as I said, if you add the operating expenses to the salary and wages, that figure represents $2,875.52. That's how it shakes out per household in Willingboro at the average cost. Again, I said that we are going to be utilizing $800,000 in ARP money. This leaves $500,000 of unspent funds available for the 2024 budget. And again, the township is absorbing $1.6 million in operating appropriations without passing any of those additional costs to the taxpayers. But I will say that if costs continue to increase at the rate they are going, future budgets will become increasingly difficult to balance while still attempting to sustain a healthy fund balance, which is an essential element of a financially stable community. I was not here many years ago, but my understanding is that at some point, the fund balance in Willingboro was almost non-existent. And through very solid fiscal management and planning, it is now at $12 million. You want to talk about a financially stable community? Willingboro is a very financially stable and sound community. The taxpayers should be very comfortable that your money, although you think is high, it is being well managed and spent in Willingboro. So we're going to keep it that way. So, you know, and different things that the council does, you may not appreciate them now, but, you know, down the line, you'll reap the benefit. So one of the things that the council was talking about, the cannabis licenses. I don't know if you're aware, but 2% of cannabis revenues come directly back to the township. So now if we have a cannabis shop that's generating, just for an example, $1 million in sales, that's $200,000 that comes back to the township. That's 1 penny on the tax rate. So, you know, as we look to increase some of these different services, these are things that will also be utilized to kind of offset our future tax rates. I do want to quickly touch on the proposed capital budgets. Again, these are not things that are really locked into stone, but I just did want to kind of plant some seeds as we go into the preparation for the capital budget portion of our budget. You know, in DPW right now, we're looking at potentially about $425,000 in capital expenditures. And again, these are not locked into stone. Our public property, we're looking at $1,134,000 in possible appropriations. At the last council meeting, we did borrow some of the monies that had been appropriated towards the turf field to reappropriate them to the servers. We are going to be putting those monies back along with additional monies. So if you decide to move forward with the turf field project, you will have $500,000, $500,000 to begin work on that in 2023. We talked about the Performing Arts Center and it's laid out there. We are adding an additional $600,000 into this budget, along with what was in there in prior years, plus the monies being received from the DCA grant. That's $2,045,000 that you will be able to utilize in 2023 to move those projects forward. We are looking at some substantial repairs to the country club pool, which are going to come in at about $150,000, and some additional fencing. We had a very serious injury at one of our fences along by the JFK Center was hanging, so we need to repair some fencing. Our inspections department, they're looking for a little over $51,000 in capital budget expenses. Our fire and EMS, we need to provide them with self-contained breathing apparatus this year at the cost of $300,000. And you know, our EMS have been really kicking it up with their ambulances. So we're going to need to acquire a new ambulance for them at some point. I don't think that we're going to fund an entire ambulance, but we are going to look to contribute $112,000 towards that. And again, these are just proposals. Hopefully, if the revenue that they generate by the end of the year, they may be able to bring the other half of that, and it's a kind of a wash. Police, we need to provide them this year with some body armor, which would include cameras, tasers, in-car cameras, and some other software along with body armor. This bill, the Axon Body Bundle, the Axon Bundle is actually a $1,159,000 expenditure. However, we are able to capitalize it over 10 years. So this is going to be the year one portion of that much extended out expenditure. And again, these are changes that are going to be proposed for our IT department in the amount of $271,000. Recreation, we are going to hopefully move forward and finalize that Broido Playground project for an additional $194,000. And that is the end of my presentation. And I will say, part of the down payment requirements for capital projects are included in our capital budget. And we do have additional options available if the needs arise. So if there is a major catastrophe that were to happen in Willingboro that will require us to go out and bond to repair a street, we have additional monies already appropriated in our down payment. So all we would need to do is go ahead, do a capital appropriation, and it would not have any effect on this year's budget. So again, I just really want to thank Ms. Eusebia Diggs. I have seen CFOs, and I tell you, we're not perfect, but you have a pretty good one here, and you do. And she really treats the Willingboro's money like it's her own. So that being said, if there's no questions, I will wrap it up. I get it, Mayor. Mayor's giving me a hard time.
Thank you. All right, thank you, Mr. Harris, for that. For the sake of time, we will be moving right into public comment. This is public comment for anything. You have 4 minutes. Please state your name and address.
Good evening, everyone. First, I would like to say 2 hours and 30 minutes for public comments. That's ridiculous, in my opinion. It's almost like a tactic not to engage. It was too long. My name is Janetta Warren. I live at 150 Clubhouse Drive. Most of you probably don't know who I am. One person, Samantha, does. I'm here tonight because a residential home is next door to me unbeknownst to myself. And I was never notified that a business entity was going to be operating right next to me. I don't know the procedures of how, should I have been notified? Is it common practice? Is what's going on? And from my understanding, is more popping up on my block? When will we be notified? And who own these properties? Is it public information? That's it. Janetta Warren, 150 Clubhouse Drive.
We will answer all questions after.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor, Deputy Mayor, Council, and my fellow Willingboro residents. It's nice being back in person. I just want to let you know that tomorrow, I'm sorry. Pat Lindsay Harvey, Hadley Lane. I just want to let you know that tomorrow is World Water Day. It was first suggested in Agenda 21 during the 1992 United Nations Conference on Environment and Development in Rio de Janeiro. Later in December in 1992, the United Nations General Assembly passed a resolution designating March 22nd as World Water Day. It's an annual event that strives to raise awareness about the critical importance of fresh water and encourage sustainable water management practices. Water availability and management are critical for human life and success because it is one of the most valuable resources on our planet. So that's tomorrow's World Water Day. The other thing I wanted to ask you about is you're talking about manufacturing cultivation. Where's it going to go? We don't have really that much open space in Willingboro, so I'm just trying to think where we're going to put manufacturing and cultivation. Thank you.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of the council, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Mistress Gloria Abassi Williams, a 28 years resident of Country Club. I reside at 170 Clubhouse Drive. It has been brought to our attention. We have about 9 members. Please rise, all of those who are here with me from Country Clubhouse Drive, please rise. Yes, I did my homework well. We have homes that are being sold to group home owners. These are non-profit people living on Clubhouse, living in Country Club. We have house number 88, house number 156, house number 91, house number 113, house number 186. Presently operating on a non-profit group home owners. As I was told 28 years ago that Country Club is supposed to be a residential home, I believe so. But now it has become a commercial home. And these owners, we would like to know who are these people buying. As a matter of fact, we have 2 more houses being renovated. House number 143, house number 189, and house number 169. The moment it gets to be renovated, we notice that group home owners move in. And I was also told by one of my colleagues that her garbage couldn't be taken out because these group home owner employees park the car outside of the driveway. They have plenty of room to park the van and park the employee's car in there. And her garbage was not taken out. I would have brought my garbage over here to the township if that happened to me. Secondly, what is it supposed to be? Are we supposed to pay 10,000? I'm paying taxes now. Thank God, our house is paid off. But we are paying taxes, and these people are not paying. Is it going to be a commercial place or is it going to be a residential place? We need to know who are the buyers, who's buying this home, renting it out, and these employee coming down there in the morning, drinking coffee, dropping it like this is Philadelphia or Trenton. But I work hard. I live opposite Jackie. I clean my yard, and many others do the same. they drop things like from the VFW, drop bottles, cups. I have to pick it up because I'm a clean freak. This is who I am. But I'm very concerned that we hope and pray that there will be an end of this. No more group home. We will actually prefer they move out. But if they're gonna stay there, I did realize it. We cannot tell them. But if they're gonna stay there, we need to know who are these people buying this home and renting out to these people. If that's the case, I can rent my garage out and start doing business. But we paying taxes. So you either have to get involved and then, or we reduce our taxes since the people are not paying taxes. They are non-profit. This is our concern. If somebody else wants to speak, the floor is open. Thank you.
Hey, William Weston, 44 Bosworth Lane. I just wanted to mention a couple of things. World Water Day tomorrow, but also March 22nd is a WMUA meeting. And so if you, any of the residents, if you're here, you're civically active, it'll be a virtual meeting, and the to get on the meeting is WMUA.info, and the link will be there if you would like to join us, and that's at 6 p.m. and find out about your water. Also, the third Thursday of every month is the Willingboro Neighborhood Watch, and the information such as what areas have more crime and what's the latest things that's happening in the neighborhood, doors, cars being rummaged through, make sure your doors are locked and those type of things, but just the latest crimes that are happening and how to prevent them, that is shared at the Willingboro Neighborhood Watch meeting, and that's the third Thursday of every month, and then that's at the Senior Center, at the Willingboro Senior Center. And also there's our engagement officer, Sally Landrum, and Detective Coop will be there, and they come to every meeting to give an update of what's the latest things happening in the town. Concerning promoting the app, I saw the advertisements for it. I didn't get the mailer yet, but it didn't say anything about signing up. I signed up while I was sitting down. So I'm just saying that in the future, make sure that shared that to also download it and sign up. Concerning the street naming, you know, that came up kind of randomly, and it's a street naming, but really we're trying to honor our residents. And what is the trigger? Like, why are we doing it? Meaning, before the street naming was when a council person passed and served a certain time. That was, in a sense, the trigger. But now maybe there are other ways we can honor our residents. A Hall of Fame, Key to the City, proclamation. It may not necessarily have to be a street naming. And also there's a plethora of famous and accomplished Willingboro residents. Judge Mary Bell, I believe she was the first African-American to sit on the council in 1981, Mary White Bell, and of course, Adam Blackstone, but there's a plethora of, you know, a great many of accomplished Willingboro residents. I do applaud the effort to keep a zero tax rate. I do have a question concerning that. When are the properties assessed? So the tax rate is the same, but I don't know if it's every year, every 5 years. I also do want to thank Ms. Reva Foster as the president of the NACP. The Senior Center and Reva Foster Center has allowed us to come back and have in-person meetings again. So I just want to recognize that. I believe that's all my comments. Thank you.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Maribel Gonzalez Graham. I am from 95 Clubhouse Drive. And so I just want to kind of piggyback on what our neighbor was saying. My concern is that along with some of the challenges that she has expressed is the presence of police and emergency services as a result of these residential homes that are there, that are really, you know, I'm a native of Philadelphia, moved here 6 years, April 1st, it'll be 6 years in the hope of providing a better and safer environment for my son. We had a neighbor who had one of these residents go into their home. And so it's very concerning to me. In addition to that, there is the concern It's now a high traffic area. And on October 20th of last year, my father was hit and run. It was a hit and run. He was in Cooper's Trauma Center. As a result of that, I have called the police. I've placed complaints. I called the township because in how it works in Philadelphia is when you establish a business, there's zoning laws, and wasn't familiar. I was told that that was not necessary. And so it's very concerning because, you know, we want a safe environment, and right now it is not. Okay.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Hi, good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
So my name is David Kitson, and I'm here with my wife, and we are recent residents of Country Club. And we reside at 84 Clubhouse Drive. So many of what was expressed before, we are currently experiencing that. So we have experienced, there's a group home directly beside us, and we have experienced one of the residents walking into our home, which was a very unsafe situation. Thankfully, I didn't react the way I thought I would have. I really just assessed very quickly that something was wrong with the individual, and I just directed him out. Apart from that, we've had a lot of ambulance presence, police cars right in front, parked in front of our homes. I'm driving in and I'm driving into this setting. Also, we've had, you know, it is really not being kept as a clean atmosphere, to be honest. As of now, we have seen a bed head that is resting on the back of our lawn. How did that appear? I'm not even sure. I checked the cameras. I realized that this was something that was placed there in the morning, but this was when I was not at home. I was at work. Another incident, there are so many different garbages that are just being laying around, like a mattress that is laying on the side of the house. We've seen garbages appearing on our lawn, and these are not coming from our garbage, right? It's really very discouraging because we're here with our 3 kids and my mother-in-law. So we are, we saw this area as one of the best safe areas to raise our family. And we've not really been experiencing that kind of atmosphere as of right yet. So just really wanted to bring that to your attention.
Good afternoon. Well, good evening. Good night.
My name is Harold Espy, and I reside at 80 Clubhouse Drive. You probably heard that number quite a few times. My wife and I moved in September of 1985 to 80 Clubhouse Drive. We bought the mortgage there from Gary Majors, used to be with CBS News. I think CBS or ABC News in Philly. Meanwhile, we did a lot of renovation to the home. And my concern now is that I'm gonna piggyback on David, my new neighbor. He just moved not too long ago there. And my wife, she passed August 10th last year. And she was diagnosed with ALS. But she was sitting on the bench in the house, in the porch there. And an individual came around her and went in our home. He went into our living room. Now, thank God my sister-in-law and my niece was there. But he went upstairs, then he came back down, then he went into the kitchen, then he went into the back room, then he came back and went in the refrigerator, grabbed a dozen of eggs, and just smashed them on the floor against my sofa. When I called Willingboro authorities about that issue, I was at work in Edison, New Jersey. And, my concern was with her. Now, the caretaker came behind the individual and told him, ma'am, don't touch him, he might hurt you. And that concerned me. And I had to tell the officer, if he'd have put his hands on my wife, it'd have been a different story. And if I'd have been home, it'd have been a different story. And I thank God he kept me away at that point, because I know autistic people, they're human. And they, it's something that's in them that they didn't want, but it's there. And you know what I mean? So they have rights too. And I understand that, but yet and still, when you wake up like tonight, I might go to bed tonight, I might get woke up 4 or 5 times. I look out, here's an ambulance, here's police officers, here's fire truck, here's a beep, 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 alarm system's going off. And they had I think the fire department has to come to reset it. But it wakes you up out of your sleep, man. You know, and I'm saying, what's going on here? But you know, I talked to Miss Tony, and she's the manager of this group, but she's in Silver Springs, Maryland. And they call it 88 LLC. Silver Springs, Maryland. And it's like, you know, it's whatever the organization is. And I'm taking a long time, I'm sorry. But I was just wondering, how does this happen in our neighborhood? And I'm going to piggyback with David here because I was concerned about his young children. He's got little babies. You know what I mean? And, you know, and say that the person that does something happen to be that he could hurt that little baby because he's not aware of that. And the people, it took 3 police officers to take that one individual came in my house to put him on the ground. He's strong. And I'm looking at one. I got solar on my roof. I was looking at the solar people that came out to do some adjustments for me. I said, "Oh man, that guy's big. You have to, you know, take him down heavy. You can't play with him." I just said that then. And then all of a sudden, here it is in my home. That was like a Friday. The Tuesday he came in my home. And then he went around Miss Smith, Brenda Smith, around her house. Between she has cameras, I don't, but he had cameras. He showed it where he ran.
Your time is up.
My time is up. I'm sorry. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ipsy. We hear you. Thank you.
Got a lot more to say, but I'm okay.
I wanted to give him part of my time. I didn't intend to come up here and speak. I had a broken foot for 6 months, but my name is Dolores Lee, and I'm glad to be here, but I want you to know that I've been a resident of Willingboro for 50 years. I've lived at 140 Clubhouse Drive for 50 years. I intended to live in my house until the day that God called me home. But I'm a little concerned now about what I'm hearing tonight. I'm gonna make sure that my alarm is on whenever I walk in that house. I'm gonna make sure that I'm cautious of everything that's going on. I'm gonna have a bell put on my house tomorrow so I can see the inside and the outside. But I wanted to say to the town manager, when you spoke about each household in Willingboro paying $1,000 and for certain things, each household, my question to you is, what percentage of homes in Willingboro are actually paying taxes? Every home is not paying taxes in Willingboro. Some are exempt. And some of the businesses that we're talking about tonight are also exempt. My taxes are 10,000 plus. I have no problem paying my taxes, but I want to be safe here. So if you can get that percentage to me, to let me know what homes are paying taxes and what percentages are not, because there are a lot of homes in Willingboro that are not paying taxes. And I don't mind paying my taxes as long as I'm getting the services. So I also want to piggyback on what my neighbor said. This meeting was way too long. And sometimes I think maybe the council can go into conference after they allow us to speak, because I was getting tired of sitting back there listening to what you were saying, because I lost interest in what was going on. And especially when I see that council members are bickering between each other. That's not nice. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lee. Any other member of the public for public comment?
Hello, everybody. It's my first time here. My name is Joel Artis. I live at 162 Clubhouse Drive with my parents. Oh, sorry. Can you hear me now? Can I take this off? Hello. Hi, my name is Joel Artis. I live at 162 Clubhouse Drive with my parents. Just to add on what a lot of other people here are saying, my parents moved in about 5 years ago, and the house next door to us had been vacant for about 10 years. I want to say mid last year, we also had a group home place next to us. And in that time, my parents do not allow my siblings outside anymore because they don't seem threatening, but it is very worrying when the neighbors are outside and they're yelling or they're repeating the same thing. There have been cases where they mocked my brothers and I didn't know what was going on until I realized like, oh, okay, you know, I see what they're doing. I see what's going on. Just to add on what somebody else said about the vans, they do block. There are times when they block our driveway. They park their van on the edge of their property line and a little bit in front of our driveway. And they also park in front of their own while there's space in their driveway. So yeah, that's really it. They do take up space, and it is a bit disheartening not to have my siblings outside anymore. You know, my parents put a lot of money into our yard to make it fun for them. We have the golfers. We don't mind when they wander into the yard, but we don't have a gate next door. We don't have a fence to keep anybody out from wandering onto our side. We don't have a fence to keep their trash on their side. And there's a lot of trash that's blown over on our side. My parents like to keep it very clean. We like to keep a very clean grass line, like to keep the trash clean, the recycling in order. And it is upsetting when you're trying so hard to maintain your property and somebody else's mess is just constantly flowing onto your side and they're not being held responsible for that. So that's really it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Gary Johnson, 54 Gramercy Lane. I will start out by apologizing to the people who have just spoken because the issue I'm going to bring up doesn't rise to that level, but I will state my piece anyway. We've had a nice discussion on limiting council meetings, and that's good. However, having a limit that you can override is not a limit. And if we don't meet the limit, then there's no use in having one. So I stand by my original statement. Going on to another issue, if we're concerned seriously about limiting the time of these meetings, having something on the agenda, which isn't required, isn't needed, in my estimation, is either unconstitutional or at least contrary to the interest or the intentions of the people who wrote the Constitution, then we should not have it on the agenda, but we do. So my recommendation is that we eliminate the item prayer on all future agendas. And while that doesn't save us a humongous amount of time, if we're interested in saving time, something which should serve no real useful purpose has no business being on it. So I would recommend that that item be dropped.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Okay, is there any public comment from the Zoom?
Yes, Mayor. Maddie Mallory.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Maddie Mallory of Hudson Place. And I'm sorry I was late joining in, but I had a church meeting that was very important. And I heard part of Mr. Harris's report on the budget. Included in the salary and wages is the bonus for the clerk included in that figure. And if so, can we find out, you know, what that is? And the other thing on your capital budget, I did not hear anything about the HVAC system at the library. And like I said, I tuned in late, so I could have missed that. And my other comment is that we talk about water and the fact that tomorrow we should recognize, I think it was said something about World Water Day or something. When we're paying for water in this town that we can't even drink or cook with. So, you know, I think that for you to talk about water and the fact that, everybody deserves clean water. Well, let's work on what we have going on in this town, because we get one letter saying, okay, you can drink it now. And then we get another letter a week or so ago that says, well, maybe not. And if you're pregnant, you definitely should not. So, let's get our own situation straightened out with this water. If not, then I think the taxpayers of this town need to take things into their own hands and do whatever we have to do to make sure that we're paying for water that we can drink and or cook with. And on that, I'm finished for tonight.
Thank you, Ms. Mallory.
Sharon Anderson.
Good evening, everyone. It's good to see everyone back in the council room. I'm sorry that I can't be there to join you. This is Sharon Anderson. I'm at 7 Bellhurst Lane. And can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. I want to thank our dedicated civil servants for finding ways to continue to serve our community without an increase in the budget. Everything else in my life has gone up significantly. And the fact that we can operate this town and stick with the same budget is pretty amazing to me. I'm encouraged to see people coming out for public comment. I am, however, deeply saddened about the homes that are not being managed in accordance with our codes and laws. I've worked in the group home industry and I'm aware of what it takes to be responsible neighbors. It can be done. Operators should be held accountable, just like individual homeowners are accountable. My deepest condolences to our neighbor whose wife lived and passed from ALS. My mother had ALS for 3 years. It is beyond my comprehension of what she would have endured sitting in a chair and unable to move while someone comes into her house. That terrifies me. Regarding the naming of the streets, the policies need to be clear that the naming is honorary only and does not change the street address as used by first responders and US Postal Services. I think sometimes that's not clear. Second, using total population for signature count and requiring signatures to be over 18 creates a statistical dilemma. And please bear with me as I geek a little bit about this. But say, for example, you set the bar at 50% of the population. Okay, that's 16,000 out of 32. However, the population includes 25% children. So you are actually asking for 66% of the adult population. This confusion can be eliminated by using households. We have about 11,000 households. That number doesn't fluctuate near as much as population. So I believe you asked for public comment, so I'm recommending that signatures be either 75% of the households on a given street or 20% of the total household count. That would allow people on a street who feel strongly to not have to recruit people who don't live on their street, but would also give a townwide proportion. And if you want to geek out on the statistical things, feel free to call me and I'll walk you through the numbers. Thank you for your patience and have a great evening.
Thank you, Mrs. Anderson.
Great, Jeff Bartley.
Good afternoon, and thank you, Madam Mayor and the council. I am here on behalf of Main Property Holdings, New Jersey, an LLC, who is an applicant for a Class 5 cannabis retailer license located at 4376 Route 130 in Willingboro, excuse me, in the Willingboro Town Center Plaza. My name is Jeff Bartley. I work for Sapphire Risk Advisory Group, who designed this particular applicant's security system. Sapphire Risk is the oldest national and most experienced cannabis security provider in the country. I'm here to address the wisdom of having 2 cannabis dispensaries in the same area of town, including the potential impact on safety and security. What we found is many municipalities, excuse me, prefer to have multiple dispensaries closer together, and there are numerous advantages for doing so. Police department resources are consolidated in the same general area for patrol of both dispensaries, meaning they have less area to cover to patrol both dispensaries. As a result of the added security in the areas by the dispensaries themselves that are non-police officers, the police officers will have less issues in the nearby shopping centers, freeing them up to police other areas as well. Other businesses in the area, other businesses in the nearby plaza will benefit from the added security of a second dispensary. This actually results in less crime due to the added security. Regarding our specific location for our client, the layout of the plaza prevents traffic from backing up onto Route 130, keeping the highway safer because there is an dedicated exit lane into that shopping center. Additionally, 2 dispensaries in the same general area provides competitive pricing options, which is an advantage for consumers. The only benefit to not having 2 dispensaries in the same general area appears to be for competitive purposes. But for the township and consumers, there are clear benefits to having both dispensaries in the same general area. We know that fast food restaurants and home improvement stores thrive when placed in close proximity to each other. Thank you for your time. That's what I have for tonight.
It is, we just passed the ordinance, it's now 10 o'clock, so I need to make a motion to suspend.
You don't have to do it for an hour.
Just extend the
Just-
meeting to-
Yeah.
Yeah.
Takes 20 days.
Right.
20 days.
Stop.
Okay.
So moved.
Okay. So we don't need to.
Oh, you need to do a motion to extend because that's what the resolution
Right.
says, so.
I just
there's
so
a
moved.
motion.
Okay.
So moved.
Rebecca.
All right, thank you.
You need a
Move-
second or?
No, moved by Mayor McIntosh, seconded by Councilwoman Perone. Roll call, please.
Councilman Anderson?
Sorry. But once we pass it, doesn't it take 20 days for it to go into effect?
Yes,
Or
sir.
no? It's
That-
20 days.
You
for it
know
to go
what,
into
you're
effect?
right. It
Yes,
takes
sir.
20 days, so we're
That's
not
what it
under
is,
it
sir.
tonight. That's my bad. I apologize, but.
You just ready to go?
All
right, we're almost
the
done.
fastest way.
So is there any
on it,
other,
Because we're gonna,
is there any other public
do
comment for Zoom?
Do we just cancel that because
Yeah,
there was
just
a
cancel.
first and a second?
Yes.
So the motion is tabled. We need a motion to table.
So moved.
We don't need to
I
take.
just retract my motion.
We never
retract-
adopted
I
it.
retract my motion. You retract yourself.
I retract my second.
Thank you.
This
Okay.
never happened.
Right.
Any other public comment on Zoom?
Yes, Beulah Williams.
Okay.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, Council, Manager, Clerk, fellow citizens. Good evening. Beulah Williams, 8 Botany Circle. I had services tonight. The children were leading out, so I'm not sure what I missed, but I was looking forward to hearing Council address our water situation. And unless I missed it, I'm disappointed that that was not addressed. Thankfully, Ms. Mallory brought it up because it's a concern to me, and I'm sure many others who received that letter. Also, I heard, I'm not sure if I heard clearly, will the council be meeting instead of in where you are now, meeting at the JFK building? Is that what I heard? Please clarify. And also, I appreciate the manager's report, financial report, and how the budget has remained the same as last year. I think that's what he said. But I was thinking with cannabis and what maybe will ensue, maybe the taxes will go up anyway, because it will cause the police to work harder, more hours. So I was glad when this gentleman just addressed security measures. I wanted to know, how did that factor in or agreeing to have various cannabis businesses in Willingboro? I would like that address, please. And I think that is it for the time being. And also, I know everybody's entitled to their opinion, but I think where God is, peace will reign or has to reign, where God is in control. And prayer, I think, is a wonderful item to hold on dearly to in our council meetings. Let's invite the Lord in everything that we do. I think it's a good way to go. Thank you so much. And may God bless all of you as you continue to work for your community, our community. God bless you all.
Thank you, Ms. Williams.
You're welcome, Mayor.
Any other public comment on Zoom?
Not at this moment, Mayor.
Thank you.
Good evening, Jacqueline Mack, Maplewood Lane, better known as 7297. Happy to be here tonight. It's good to see everyone. I have a lot to say, but I'm really not going to say that much. Thank you, Township Manager, for the nice budget presentation. I've listened to a few. I understood tonight's, and I guess we're talking about a turf field, or at least that was in the proposal. I just happened to save this from March 12th of this year, 2 articles about Field of Dread, about Veterans Park, Veterans Stadium in Philadelphia, how many players have died of brain cancer. And this was in the same one about vets turf war was dangerous before cancer. So I'm not going to read them. I'm going to hand them over to the township clerk and ask her if she'll copy them if she can, or if you all can go in and read them. And I know it's something that everybody thinks would be great. I don't know that it would be that great. Maybe they've improved it. Something we're going to pay for over 30 years. It's like financing a car. You buy it, you finance it for 15 years, and by the time you get to 5 years, the car is broken down and just out of commission. Anyhow, let's forget that. But we'll talk about the budget another time. And we do have a good CFO. I guess that's what I'm calling you. You do a great job. Also, as far as the street naming goes, you could talk about that for a whole week, I think. We're talking about percentages of the houses on the street. Well, you know, some of our streets have 6 houses on them. Others have 50. So you can't really go by the percentage. And who's going to name the street? The people who live there now, or the ones who, you know, have just come in, or empty houses? I don't know. There's a whole lot of things to consider in that. And last, I'd like to say the Keep Community Clean. We've been working on this for years. You all know it. Somebody said we should have a week of or weekend cleaning. Heavens, we always do that in the spring and the fall. But yours look very good, and I'm going to report that to Mr. Floyd. He will be happy to hear that. He's sad that he's not here, but anyhow, I'll tell him. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Mack. All right. Is that it for public comment? All right, public comment is now closed. All right, first, I just want to say that these the meetings, some meetings are long. There's a lot of business. We did quite a few resolutions today. And for the interest of the public, we do try to explain all of them. I'm not going to apologize, but it is longer. Sometimes they're longer, and we try to keep them shorter, but this was one of the long ones. We had a budget introduction and many resolutions today. So typically we try to keep them 2 hours. But we also kept the Zoom and a hybrid version of the council meeting so that we understand people's time is very valuable. And so sometimes it's easier in the comfort of your own home to listen to a council meeting and still do what you have to do, and also chime in when public comment is now open. But we do strive to push the meeting forward. So I will apologize for it just being longer today. I do want to address the biggest concern tonight, the public safety and the littering, and I know the group homes, are a big issue. That's been brought up before. And I'm a little angry that you're having that residential experience, because that's not what we're trying to provide. But I know the group home issue is a little touchy. So I will ask our solicitor just to give a broad overview, but there's some conversations that need to happen on the state level to address this. It is a concern for me personally. I do not want to see Willingboro as the hub for all the group homes. However, we just have to figure out a way to maneuver.
And Madam Mayor and Council, I mean, the difficulty with group homes is that there's law in the state of New Jersey that, and when they first started coming out, there was significant resistance, and planning boards and zoning boards were denying group homes. There's been law established by the courts, however, that essentially has made it extremely difficult, if not impossible, for municipalities to control or keep out group homes. They almost have a presumption where they get through planning boards and zoning boards quite without a whole lot of problems, because of the fact that there's the Supreme Court decision and legislation that has given them these type of exemptions. So it's difficult. One thing that the municipality can't do and the planning board can't do is just flat out deny it. If they meet the requirements, and they meet the requirements just as any resident would meet, the law's been clear that you can't discriminate against the group homes and the individuals in those homes. So, we can look at the issue, we can confirm with the planning board that they're properly, and zoning boards that they're properly applying the rules and regulations and ordinances that apply to them. But I can tell you, I can't, the township is not going to be able to stop group homes. If they comply with the law, regrettably, they have a right to be there. Now, that being said, in terms of the trash and some of the other things you're talking about, clearly the town has ordinances and provisions, just like the manager was talking about earlier, where if we're made aware of that and the township's made aware of it, there are enforcement provisions that can be done to help make the owners clean up those areas and otherwise comply with regulations and ordinances of the township. So it's a difficult issue. Seems like this one area has had a considerable number of them, but they only get in there by virtue of having the appropriate approvals. And they must have met the requirements to be there if they're present at this point. But I mean, what we can do is ensure that if you have questions and issues, make the township manager aware of those issues. To the extent they deal with trash and with things that are covered by ordinances, we can make a very good effort. And I'm sure that Mr. Harris will follow up to make sure we can enforce trash issues that in terms of parking in front of people's driveways, et cetera. But I can tell you, the one thing the township can't do and the planning and zoning board can't do is deny an application that meets all the standards. So that if they did, you'd have a court case, and ultimately the group home would still be there. So I know that's not the answer you want to hear, but it's the best answer I can give you.
And I appreciate that. Like I said, there's a conversation that needs to be held on the state level. Do you have an idea of what percentage of Willenboro or group homes in Willenboro? Do we have a number?
So I don't know the specific number, but I would, or maybe Mr. Tunstall, I would tell you that Willingboro
Very
has a
saturated.
proportionately
Yeah.
high ratio of group homes. I believe the number was like 250 something it was very high. But there is something that is very popular about the home styles here in Willingboro that make them very desirable for these types of dwellings. So, as Mr. Crook so profoundly stated, really our hands are tied regarding their entrance here, but we can take measures to make sure that they are complying with ordinances and trash and those measures. And Mr. Tunstall and Captain Bucks, and you're gonna be on my schedule tomorrow. And we will start talking about ways to address these situations. We may need to impose some parking restrictions on streets like that. I don't know. But it's a dialogue that we will have. And, I do have some of your names and addresses and, maybe we'll engage some of the residents from the community as we work together to try to solve this problem. 52? Okay, I'm sorry, I was a little extreme.
And I would like to keep that was extreme.
Extreme.
But I would like to,
Okay,
but since a lot of residents came from Club, I would like to keep an extra eye on Clubhouse Drive in terms of, especially the trash days and especially, the parking situations and the littering. As we kind of work that out, because part of it, I understand that everybody has rights, but they're infringing on our residents' rights. So, I mean, like I said, that is a conversation on a state level since those laws are imposed by the state. So, and Willenboro is a very huge voting block. So it is something that needs to be said. And we will do what we can do on a municipal level and have these conversations, because it is a serious matter. It's been brought up prior to us being on council also. But we can see what we can do, and it's just a real conversation on a state level, because it is infringing. Okay, no, I appreciate that. But it is a serious issue, and it's not the intention of this township to have residents fearful or not having clean properties, or, just not having a great experience living here, paying taxes. So I acknowledge that. We will keep up on it. This conversation is not dead today. So I appreciate you coming out today and voicing your and coming out in numbers and voicing your experience and voicing your concerns. This is the platform, again, it wasn't meant to be a long meeting, but this is the platform by which you do express your serious concerns. So I do appreciate that. And I know you will keep up on us, especially Ms. Williams. But Miss Lee, but now Miss Gloria brought it to my attention. So I do appreciate everyone coming out for that. Also, Miss Pat, can I put you on the spot just for a quick stint? Okay, we have Miss Pat Lindsay Harvey. She is the chairwoman commissioner for the WMUA. It doesn't have to be extra long, but just a statement, because they can come to the MUA meeting also.
Tomorrow. So briefly, November 2021, well 5A was shut down. No one in the town is getting any water from well 5A. That was the infected well with PFAS. We have been fighting with DEP since November, 2021, because they mandated us to send a letter to our residents, which scared the living daylights out of everybody, saying our entire system was contaminated. That is not the truth. We have one well, it's shut down, and no one is getting that water. And I knew that, and then we're probably going to get, people on the line tomorrow at our meeting talking about the same thing, but rest assured our water is safe to drink, is safe to wash with, is safe to cook with. It's just that DEP is mandating that we send this letter, which is not true. And we're still fighting. We're going to continue to fight until they are just and fair with Willingboro. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lindsay Harvey. Mr. Harris, you can just go through the ones that you can answer.
Yes, so, most of the comments were related to the group homes and the mayor, you addressed them. Mr. William Weston did have a question about tax assessments. Tax assessments are done usually in bulk, in a municipality through a revaluation. When the ratios reach a certain level, the state will mandate a revaluation. We are not there yet. But additionally, every time someone pulls a permit and does an improvement on their home, that will also re-trigger or trigger an added assessment to a property based on the work that was done, increasing the value. So that figure can fluctuate up and down, as the year goes through. But as a bulk, when we do a reevaluation, that's when everybody's properties will be evaluated. Ms. Mallory, she had a question about the salary and wages. The salary and wages in the budget includes all salary and wages. And she mentioned a question about it. I'm not sure what she's referring to about a bonus for the clerk. So, if she wants to send me some communication, I can get some clarity on that. The HVA
Mr.
system.
Harris, I'm sorry to, I'm sorry, you got the HV, but going back to Mr. Weston, the app, did you address the app? Saying that it doesn't necessarily always go to you signing up through the app.
So he did mention the information about downloading the app, but registering as well.
Registering,
And I
yes.
believe that's included in the communication.
That will be included in the community.
Okay,
Right,
all right, thank you.
right, the second step. The HVA system at the library is part of is included in the potential ESIP project. So when you move forward with that, the HVA system at the library will be replaced as part of that project. I don't recall Ms. Anderson having any, she made a lot of comments, but nothing that dictated a direct response from the body. Mr. Bartley was talking about the proximity of dispensers in 2 locations. I believe you only issued 1 license, so I'm not really sure what he's referring to about proximity, but we'll leave those questions up to our solicitor. Ms. Williams, yes, the second council meeting in April is proposed to be held at the JFK Center, just that one particular meeting. Again, she had asked a question about various cannabis businesses in Willingboro. Again, there's only 1 license that has been issued. So it's kind of a premature question, I would say. I'm not sure. And Ms. Mack, she did mention clean communities. And I wrote it down, but I forget what I was supposed to say related to the comment, the comments about the clean communities. But I do thank you for for your support. Did I miss anything?
I think I checked off everything. Is there anything else?
Oh, I do remember now. Forgive me. Because she had mentioned the Clean Communities event, and I just wanted to tell everybody that this year we're going to give away for everybody who registers for the Clean Communities event, an electric mulching lawnmower. So if you participate,
What? Oh. It was like-
Not everybody.
no, I said a giveaway. So, no, so
Oh.
let me rephrase that. A chance,
Oh.
yes, the chance to win. Okay,
Oh,
chance
a
to
chance to
win.
win. Gotcha.
It's not a raffle. It's not, right.
Right.
So, thank you, Councilwoman. So if you register for the Clean Communities event, 1 individual will have a chance for a free giveaway of an electric mulching lawnmower. Is that a little clear?
The words aren't right.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
We got it.
I'm
With
trying,
Mayor.
okay, leave it alone. I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, cannabis, there was, someone who brought up the Miss Lindsay Harvey, manufacturing and cultivation opportunities, in terms of zoning.
Yes, and I think in terms of zoning, the only place that is zoned for manufacturing or industrial, depending on, the type of operation, is the industrial area that we have. There is some occupied properties there. I don't know what else will be proposed. But that will come to pass when we see if we decide to reopen applications, what will be submitted.
Okay, thank you. Was there anything that I missed from public comment? All right. And we'll move on to council comment.
Mayor, we want to do the
Oh,
three
oh, so-
resolutions.
I'm sorry, yes, the resolution for
Introduction of the
Introduction of the budget.
yes. Thank you.
Resolution 2023-71, resolution to introduce the budget. I need a motion, please.
So moved.
Second, moved by Councilman Anderson, seconded by Dr. Worthy. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilman Anderson,
Yes.
Councilwoman Perone,
Yes.
Councilwoman Worthy,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Whitfield,
Yes.
and Mayor McIntosh.
Yes.
Resolution 2023-72, Equal Employment Opportunities Commission Resolution. I need a motion, please.
So moved.
That
Wait a
We did
minute.
that was already done in the consent agenda.
Yeah, but
No, I have that one too.
Oh, that was.
Um,
thought that was
It's
a separate
okay.
one.
No, it was done in the consent.
72.
Yeah, 72 was done as part of the consent agenda.
Yeah.
So what I was gonna ask you, even though solicitor said that we would ratify that, but we already have a resolution, so for boards and commissions, so can we just go ahead and approve it, because we did the nominations
Yeah.
already? Resolution 2023.
Yeah.
Resolution 2023-76, resolution authorizing appointment to various boards and commissions. I need a motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
moved by Councilman Anderson, seconded by Deputy Mayor Whitfield. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilman Anderson,
Yes.
Councilwoman Perone,
Yes.
Councilwoman Worth,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Whitfield.
Yes.
And Mayor McIntosh.
Yes. Are we complete with the resolutions?
Yes.
Thank you. All right, moving on to council comment.
All right, I'd just like to thank everybody for coming out this evening. Also want to give congratulations to EMS Supervisor Rose G on her swearing in, as well as I want to thank the manager, the staff for a job well done on the introduction of the budget. Good night.
Yeah, Dr. Worthy.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you to everyone coming out. I echo Councilman Anderson's comments. I also want to wish a Ramadan Mubarak to our large population of Muslims that will be entering the holy Ramadan season. I'm wishing each of them a happy Ramadan. Also, my heart goes out to the students and families of Life Center Academy and Fountain of Life. We have several residents that worship there and that have children and grandchildren who go to school there. Thank you to the Willingboro Public Safety Team and all who supported, but we know that was a huge loss. And so I keep them in my thoughts, and I ask that you do the same. Thank you to the administration for a wonderful job on the budget and with the administration's efforts to continue to help us to be one Willingboro, the efforts with reaching across to the school district, with the MUA, the continued partnerships there. I appreciate that. I do realize as a community, we are better together. We are stronger together. I appreciate all the voices that came, that were shared this evening to help us to understand some of the challenges and problems so that we can work together to find the right solutions. And I also want to recognize Mr. Bravogel. I remember as a resident when he was the township manager, the acting manager at the time, and he talked so much about debt service and paying different things down and the investment in infrastructure and different things. And so to be able to sit on this side and to hear, you know, where we are and the strength of this town financially, I know that you played a part in that. And so while you're no longer the manager, we appreciate the work that you did along with, you know, Ms. Diggs and the entire administration. But I didn't want to let that go because we do appreciate that. We know that a government is not built 1 year at a time. We know that everything is cumulative, and it's the work that you're able to build year over year over year with the administration, the residents, and the council. That concludes my comments.
Excellent point. Thank
Madam
you.
Mayor, may I just say one thing based,
No. Let's, ready?
No.
You want to go?
based on your comments, in 2015, our, we had in our funds, $85,000. $85,000 compared to the 12 million now. So once again, great job. Rich, handling this process, along with the staff. Thank you.
That was good. Okay.
I just want to echo Dr. Worthy's comments. My sentiments goes out to the church and families as well. I just want to thank everyone for coming out, and also thank you to the township for arranging our first virtual and in-person meeting.
Yeah.
I know that you worked hard with your team to put it together, so kudos to all of you that were involved. Job well done. The presentation was excellent as well. So again, thank you all for coming out, and thank you for the council for my plaque that you have given me. Thank you very much for thinking of me. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming out.
All right. All right. I echo everyone's sentiments. I won't restate them, but I echo their sentiments. I also want to just few notes for residents to remember. I know we had a long meeting, but remember to download the Willingboro Connect app and register for it. It is an important tool that will help us to address your concerns in a timely manner. So we appreciate your assistance in that and hope that it is proven to be a benefit to you. Also, a sign up for the Citizens Police Academy. I had the opportunity to participate in the Citizens Police Academy, I believe in 2019. And it was an incredible experience just to understand how policing and public safety works in our town. So I encourage you all to sign up and attend those sessions. Also, as we are back in person, the carousel out front of the courtroom does have a number of different activities and flyers on it. Please check that on your way in and out so that you can stay abreast of all the things that are going on in our wonderful township. And also, I just want to again thank the chief of the fire chief, Burnett, and the public safety department, and congratulate the 3 fire people that we had promotions for this week, and also on the installment of our 8 full-time EMS staff. That is an incredible asset that we've added to the township, and I'm looking forward to that being a cost-neutral asset and service that we'll be able to provide to Willingboro residents. That are my comments for tonight, Mayor. Thank you so much. I will not belabor this meeting any longer, but I do appreciate everyone coming out. I really am excited about the direction that Willingboro is going. So I do thank the administration and our staff for all the hard work that you do put into making sure that we are going in the right direction. And thank you to the residents. Sometimes meetings get long, but I appreciate you coming out. Our meetings are on the 1st and 3rd Tuesdays, again, available virtually or in person. And you can choose which one you're more comfortable with. But I appreciate everyone and have a great, great night. Good night, Willingboro.
It is 10:34. I need a motion to adjourn, please.
So moved. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.
You got a bag?